That'll be fun.
So good? All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Today is Monday, August 18th, 2025. It is 9:01 a.m. All council members are present, including the town manager, assistant deputy town manager, town attorney, and town clerk. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, or the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we begin today's meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on the beauty that surrounds us. We are grateful for the unique place we serve and for the people who make this community strong. Through every challenge, our residents have shown resilience, heart, and a deep commitment to one another. May the work today honor that spirit. May we lead with thoughtfulness, protect what makes this island special, and continue building a future that reflects the strength and beauty of Fort Myers Beach. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Next, we have approval of the final agenda. There's a couple of things. Have we seen Elizabeth? I have not seen her yet.
I've not seen her.
Elizabeth Fountain was going to be here. I don't know if she's going to be here or not, but she may have a presentation about the mitigation wall. Should she show up, if we want to add that to the agenda, we can add it to the end, if everyone's okay with that.
Sure.
And then what about, Nancy, the DiBiase, item D?
I've not seen anything.
Can I get your agenda for a second? Okay, this is item number,
D.
yes, D on your administrative agenda. This would be to allow the town council to accept a utility easement. We do not have a signed copy of the easement, so we really you can't accept anything. So this one would need to be pulled from your agenda and added to the next meeting.
Okay. That's item D. Anything else on there? Any other changes to the agenda?
I'll move the agenda as amended.
All right, got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Madam Clerk,
I have nobody signed up.
is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognition. I heard a rumor that Ms. Rusk was going to be here, but I do not see her.
Nope, I don't see her either.
Okay. Advisory committee items and, local achievements. Let's do that first. I jumped ahead of one, sorry. Scott?
I'd like to wish my wife, my best friend, the happiest of birthdays tomorrow. The odometer is changing, but she's still beautiful. Happy birthday.
And I can tell she just loved that.
Yeah, that's going to get you everywhere.
Yeah.
I've never seen that shade of red on you before, Jackie.
Wait till you see his red later. Anything else?
That's it.
Counselor Woodson?
Well, I'm going with the fact that Jobu Fest was a huge success again because that thing just keeps turning north. Hopefully,
Working, yeah.
further north.
All right. Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Happy birthday, Jackie. That's all I got.
Counselor King?
Saw your show yesterday, Mayor, and I would just like to also include what you mentioned on congratulations to the Vice Mayor of Sanibel, Holly Smith, for becoming president of the Florida League of Cities. She'll be a tremendous asset for the state. She's already a tremendous asset for Sanibel, and she's been a heck of a partner, Mayor, as you know, for us. Anytime something comes up that affects Sanibel, she always instantly thinks of Fort Myers Beach. So I just wanted to express congratulations on that.
All right. Well, congratulations to you for being put onto the board of directors. I don't know if congratulations or condolences are in order, but
Maybe a little both. I do have something to share from, we were at a conference in Orlando, and, you know, that's the House of the Mouse, and somebody up there decided to try and do a Guinness Book of World Records peekaboo contest, and it didn't go well. Matter of fact, many of the contestants ended up in the ICU, so that was kind of sad.
Seriously?
Wow, that, that bombed big time. Peekaboo, ICU. Wow, and you have to explain that one, that's bad. Waka, waka, waka.
One demerit.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for, John, for representing the town up there.
Thank you.
Couldn't make it, but I'm glad everything went well, except for the whole ICU joke.
Which I'll probably be in later.
Yeah,
apparently.
great. I just want to take a minute to thank Diamond Head and all the staff here for allowing us to come back in again and squat in your conference room. You know, it's helped us out a lot since the storm. Hopefully, next month, we will no longer need to ask for any help in getting into the new building. It should be, I was in there last week, it looks like she's painting the mural. I saw she was in there working on the mural on the one wall
Yep.
downstairs, so it's coming along. Just thanks again to Neil and his team here at Diamond Head for letting us come in, and this will be our last meeting here, so thanks again. All right, now we have local achievements and recognitions. I still do not see Ms. Rusk, so we will move on. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mayor, there's no minutes on the
minutes.
agenda.
No minutes. Well, then we won't approve them.
Thank you.
All right. Consent agenda, we have nothing on the consent agenda. There's nothing removed, which brings us to our public hearings. This is a quasi, oh, wait, I gotta get my cheat sheet. Bear with me a second.
You started out good. You started out good. This is a quasi-judicial.
No, the joke threw me off.
Yeah.
Trying to get through my jokes here. All right, the next item on our agenda is a public hearing for review of various land reuse requests for the benefit of the public. Please be aware that this item is a quasi judicial in nature. Our attorney will further explain.
Thank you, Mayor. The one item that you have on your agenda today is a rezoning, and it is a second reading and public hearing of the ordinance 25-14, and I'll defer to you at one point to read the title. This rezoning, like other land use approvals such as special exceptions and variances, these are quasi-judicial in nature, and this requires that your public hearing comply with procedural requirements that have been established in Florida law and in our land development code. These quasi-judicial proceedings are less formal than a proceeding before a circuit court, but they will be more formal than the remainder of our meeting, and we must follow basic standards of due process that require certain notices, the application of the correct standards, and your decision to be made on competent substantial evidence that is presented to you either in written documents or through oral testimony. Your responsibility today is to evaluate the testimony and the information for this item and draw a conclusion regarding whether the criteria in the Land Development Code or in state law has been satisfied. So pure speculation or opinion that is not based on competent facts cannot legally be considered by you in evaluating this agenda item. Testimony by professionals who are qualified as experts in a particular area has been considered competent evidence by Florida courts, as well as testimony by neighbors and residents who have fact-based information, such as minutes, surveys, engineering reports, or their testimony that is based on their personal information. The town council's decision is final. If a decision of approval is not obtained, or if a tie vote results from a motion to approve or deny, then the matter being considered is denied unless a majority of the council members present and voting agree by motion before the next agenda item is called to take some other action in lieu of the denial. If the town council decides to deny an application, the reason for the denial should be stated in the motion. The denial cannot be based on a determination of public support or opposition to an application. The reason for the denial cannot be arbitrary, discriminatory, or unreasonable, and should be based on a lack of competent substantial evidence in support of the required criteria. So members of the audience, anyone who intends to speak, please keep my comments in mind. When you come forward, please state your name clearly for the record, whether or not you have been sworn in, and your qualifications or your interest in the matter. For purposes of efficiency, before beginning this public hearing, I'd like to go ahead and dispose of a few administrative matters. First of all, I need to ask the town clerk, has this agenda item been properly advertised pursuant to our Land Development Code?
Yes, it has been.
Thank you. And also, if any town council members have a conflict of interest that would prohibit them from voting on this item, please disclose that at this time so that we can ascertain that we have a quorum present.
Counselor Safford?
I do not.
Counselor Woodson?
I do not.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
None.
Counselor King?
Nothing.
And I do not as well.
Thank you. Anyone who is present who intends to provide testimony, including staff, if you would please rise and raise your right hand and be sworn in by the town clerk.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay.
Mayor, if you would read the title?
I'd be happy to. This is a quasi-judicial item. It is a second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 25-14, Fishtail Marina. A second reading and final adoption hearing has been scheduled for August 18th, 2025 at 9 a.m. or at another time identified by the town council. This is an ordinance of the town council of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions, or denying an amendment and restatement of Lee County Resolution Z-94-013 that rezoned property to commercial plan development to allow for a revision to the master concept plan and one additional deviation for setbacks for the development of a commercial marina for property located at 7225, 7291, and 7295 Estero Boulevard, generally identified as strap numbers 03-47-24-W1-00011.0010, 03-47-24-W1-00011.0020, and 03-47-24-W1-00011.003B in Fort Myers Beach, restating previously approved conditions and deviations, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. If any town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made at the site. Counselor King?
Nothing.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Since the first reading, I did visit the location, met with the staff there and toured the facility. But since the first reading, I've had conversations with Ben Freeland, the owner of the Arches property, regarding the language for the condition regarding the water ferry that would be utilized potentially down the road by the Arches at the Fishtail Marina.
Counselor Woodson?
I have had nothing.
Counselor Safford?
I've had nothing, not even an email.
I've had nothing since the previous hearing. Jason Smalley has been qualified as an expert already by this town council based on his education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use, planning, and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? Who weren't last time? I think you were last time. We won't do it again. No one else with you? Okay. And have you seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from the staff? Nodding yes. Go ahead, Jason.
Good morning, councilors, staff. My name is Jason Smalley. I'm a senior planner with your Planning and Zoning Department. Before you today is the second reading of the Fishtail Marina CPD amendment. As was mentioned earlier, this is an amendment to an already existing CPD passed originally through Lee County in 1994. The high points that are being requested today are including rehabilitation and repair of existing buildings. There are going to be some slight changes in the orientation of some of the buildings that are on site. Those are all expressed on the master concept plan. And you have a physical copy of the most recent iteration of the master concept plan, which I'll get into the changes here in a moment. Also being requested is a single additional deviation. That deviation is to allow for an already existing restaurant with a deck to be functionally 0 feet setback from their leased boat basin. The language allows them to continue use of that, continue rehabilitation of that structure and the deck at a 0 setback, but it does not affect the areas of the lot that are directly adjacent to the state-owned and state-managed waters. So you'll see a bifurcation there. Some areas are going to be set back at 20 feet, just as they previously were. Just those structures that are directly adjacent to their leased boat basin on the master concept plan are being requested to have 0 lot line setbacks. Also today, they are going to be incorporating the existing out parcel. On the master concept plan, they have a much more refined layout, expected layout for the buildings. This is in relation to what was approved in 1994, which was a much more generalized one. So this was part of our update, was asking them to further iterate and further clarify what's going on in that out parcel. And that's the area that Walker's, generally known as the Walker Marine, for sales and service of boats. There are some other aspects to this. I'm happy to take questions. I did want to refine real quickly from the last meeting that we had, since it's been a short turnaround. What you have before you are 3 documents. These are the 3 exhibits associated with the CPD amendment. These were relatively minor changes, but these were changes that were requested at the last town council meeting, so I'll briefly go through those. On the master concept plan, the only change between the last meeting and this one is the addition of the term water ferry to go along with water taxi. That's going to be proposed in their boat basin, directly adjacent to where the area where the Pinchers restaurant is intended to be, at their leased boat basin area. So you'll see that note if you look closely there. The second document is Exhibit C, and the only changes here again were to add the term water ferry to taxi, and you'll notice that term has been underlined in red in Exhibit C on the first page. That's the only change that's been made to that document. Lastly, in the ordinance, which constitutes Exhibit A, there were some minor changes that were not seen on the last version, and I apologize that didn't make it onto that version, but this is removal of reference to Phase 2. Phase 2 is over 20 years old. Most of those projects have already been completed, and so this is just a matter of trying to clear up the language so we don't have future staff wondering what happened to Phase 2. Lastly, in the conditions of approval, and this was mentioned last time, was the removal of the explicit language that bars them from working within turtle season, and we got some questions about that. Chad Schutz, the town's environmental manager, he will be overseeing their work during turtle season. They would like to get it done as quickly as possible, which means they need to get started as quickly as possible. I did want to make the point that ultimately the turtle lighting and the turtle protection codes during season is controlled by the state. So if the state wants to come down here and assert their jurisdiction, they can. Nothing that has been written or not written in this document is going to change that. But we have assurances from Chad that he's going to be working closely with them as the project continues. And then lastly, you'll see in the conditions of approval, condition of approval B has been added, and this was language that was asked for to explicitly state that they will work in good faith with the town as we move forward on future water ferry and water taxi stops. Those are the major changes. Staff's here for any questions, concerns you may have, and the applicant has representation here as well.
All right, thanks, Jason. Councilor King, any questions for Jason?
Nothing.
Vice Mayor?
Not at this time.
Councilor Woodson?
Not at this time.
Councilor Stafford?
Not at this time.
I do not either. Thanks, Jason.
Of course.
Come on up. Sorry, I forgot your name, sir.
That's all right. My name is Brock Petrek. I am a civil engineer at Edgewater Group. We are the engineer and architect for Fishtail Marina rebuild.
Welcome.
I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. We can click through some slides. They're the same ones that we saw 2 weeks ago. So if there's anything we want to talk about, go ahead and fire away.
Counselor Stafford, any questions for Brock?
Not this time.
Counselor Woodson?
I'm good.
Vice Mayor Adderhope?
Good morning, Brock. I've got a few questions for you this morning. The language in there about the water ferry, you and your client are familiar with the Arches proposal, and that they're building a water terminal on the north end of the island, and then they've pledged to have 4 stops, one of which is on the very south end, which would likely be your marina.
Correct.
Is it the intention of you and your client, you'd implied yes, the first reading, I just want to confirm that it's your intention to work with them to have your marina be one of the 4 stops? Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that is accurate. That language was added, as well as the language in the ordinance of good faith working with the town and Arches. The water ferry only benefits Fishtail Marina, so of course we want to play nice.
We appreciate that. And let me ask you a theoretical question, if you will. If there's other private developers, one of our challenges on our island is there's a concern that water ferries could be utilizing residential canals. And we have a potential development apart from the Arches that's in this discussion. And one of the solutions to not using residential canals, particularly on the south end, would be to have a private water ferry that's maybe taking folks from their other properties around Lee County to Fort Myers Beach. Instead of using a residential canal, they would potentially use your marina. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys, your business model is such where you would be open to that and comfortable with that, because I think I could speak for most of my colleagues here that would certainly, we would deem that to be in the public interest. Is that your understanding of things?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I previously said, foot traffic and boat traffic, increasing traffic at a marina is only good for business. So we're very fortunate at Fishtail to have a lot of broadside dockage available in the new dock layout. And so being accepting of a water ferry and a private water taxi, there are already a lot of rental boats on site. We're open to all that. That's just good for the business.
Excellent. With respect to Pitchers, could you just elaborate a little bit on the bifurcation of responsibilities with respect to the restoration of that building? The building obviously passed the 50% rule, and it'll be restored. What is your role in the restoration, and what is the owners of Pinchers' role in the restoration?
So Edgewater Group, the firm that I'm at, we work for Equity Lifestyle Properties that owns Fishtail Marina as a property. Pinchers leases the restaurant space from Equity Lifestyle Properties, and in their lease agreement is an agreement on certain funds paid to rebuild the restaurant. So I'm not directly involved with the restaurant and who finances what build out. I'm sure it's a typical lease agreement where they get a shell and then they can build out their furnishings, their kitchen, whatever they need. Pinchers as a restaurant group is rapidly advancing towards being able to build that out very soon.
And Brock, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a sense of timeline with respect to the restoration of the Pinchers?
With regard to the restaurant, I don't. It's hopefully, within the year. I think 12 months from now, I think we're eating at Pinchers again. I think that's the goal. I know on the marina side, we've got an ongoing fuel permit with the city that we'd like to see move along, and then we can start refueling everyone's boat up there on the south side. And then we are close with an Army Corps permit to rebuild the docks. So this meeting, as long as this goes well, that gets us some momentum on the uplands, and we can start rebuilding Walker Services and getting a new bathroom building in there. So the restaurant should be one of the first things to open, along with the fuel dock, and hopefully that comes very soon.
Very good. Thank you, Brock.
Thank you.
Counselor King?
No questions.
You already answered all mine, so thanks, Brock.
Great, thanks everyone.
Public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this matter? If so, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself, provide your address, and whether you were sworn in. Public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I'm assuming you don't have any additional statements? Jason?
I I just wanted to make it clear that staff recommends approval with the conditions as they've been presented, both digitally and physically before you.
Okay. And Brock, you're accepting of the conditions?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
just wanted to thank Jason for the clarifying language on the water ferry. Appreciate your work on that. Thank you.
All right. I will now close the public hearing and request a discussion or a motion from town council to approve with conditions, or deny with reasons, or a continuance to a time certain. Is there any further discussion? Would someone like to make a motion?
Mayor, I'll move for approval ordinance 25-14 Fishtail Marina.
Second.
Got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Vice Mayor Adderholt. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Brock. All right. I see Elizabeth is here now. Do we want to get to Elizabeth now or wait till the end before we do our administrative agenda? Does anyone have a preference? Are you ready now, Elizabeth? All right. All right. You can be ready or you are ready? All right, come on up. And will this be available for the public to see? Have you provided it to the clerk?
Did,
Whatever.
I provided it to Nicole.
Okay. And Amy, will this be up on the civic?
We'll work on that as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, council members. I'm here today to follow up on a presentation that we did a few months ago, and then we've provided the council with a scope of work that we recommend if the council chooses to move forward with further evaluation of these coastal wave mitigation strategies for the island. So in that scope of services, we outline some of the initial major tasks that we would pursue in order to develop conceptual, basically plans for certain locations along the island, because obviously the conditions vary as you go from north to south. If you go to the next slide. So just another introduction for those individuals who may have missed the earlier presentation. J.R. Evans Engineering is a local engineering firm established in Estero. We now have a headquartered office in Fort Myers, another office in Sarasota, and we have staff all over the state of Florida. We provide professional engineering services and also specialize in floodplain management, coastal engineering, floodplain analysis, both riverine and coastal. I'm here today representing the firm as the Senior Vice President and the Director of that specialized department. So the purpose of the scope of work that we put together was really to address coastal surge and wave impacts and effects to those properties, explore mitigation options, which we've talked about before, whether it's enhanced dunes or a hybrid dune system with a structural component, or just wave mitigation walls with the necessary scour protection on both sides. And it's also, there's a way to maybe enhance the pedestrian use along that feature, because as we're learning as we go through and we're actually developing the plans for a few of the properties on the island, some of those scour protection features actually can serve as a walking surface for pedestrians along that feature. So the goals of the study: evaluate the shoreline protection alternatives, provide conceptual designs, and a phased implementation approach. Our scope of services focuses on identifying those most vulnerable areas of the island and to look at first. We also will identify the funding opportunities and actually put together a matrix of when those opportunities should be engaged. And then basically, ultimately, we're here to support the long-term resiliency of the island. Next slide. So our scope of services provides I believe 4 major tasks. One is for general coordination and meetings, so that's just a lot of the time spent collaborating with council, staff, internally, doing data collection, site visits, things like that. Task 2 is the initial analysis and development of those conceptual plans. So we'll actually do a coastal analysis of the island, identify those target elevations for those wave mitigation features to be able to dissipate the wave action to a level that's not so destructive, and then actually come up with those design concepts that could be applied. We'll put together an implementation plan and support services for that, and then continued stakeholder engagement. So the next slide just elaborate further into those major tasks. Again, for the coordination and meetings, we'll collaborate with town and staff on design concepts, conduct those site visits, provide council with regular updates, at key milestones of the progress, and then share the information with stakeholders as well through public meetings to get their input on really what the priorities are for those residences and those visitors and those key locations. For the initial analysis and design concepts, again, we dive into identifying all those different shoreline features and components that exist today, and then hopefully utilize those to help strengthen the island with our wave mitigation concepts. We'll actually create illustrative cross-sections, that would show what that feature looks like from the open water, across the beach, over the feature to the upland property. And we'll actually demonstrate through graphs and tables what that does. Like, you can actually see how the wave heights drop as it goes across those features. We'll deliver a phased implementation plan and identify those critical permitting activities and timelines. Again, part of that implementation plan will outline the permit process and the critical path items. We'll also address the opportunity to update the FEMA flood maps based on those implemented features. That's another step that doesn't have to happen, but it can once those features are in place. Next slide. And then when we do develop those concepts, we'll have an opportunity to continue to collaborate with stakeholders, get their input, and refine those concepts based on that input. The next few slides are just a revisit of the previous presentation and those strategies that we talked about. Again, the whole mechanism of the protection is to attenuate those waves so that the energy doesn't progress to those upland properties and buildings. So it helps reduce the damage that those properties could see. It also helps with the transporting of sand not getting as far inland as it does today. Next slide. Again, the last presentation, we highlighted the upland wave mitigation strategies with actual structural features, and highlighted where these have actually been installed and are functioning today throughout Florida. The most local ones are probably Bonita Beach at the end of Hickory Island. There's a set of 3 condominium properties there, and each of them have implemented a certain aspect of this wave mitigation strategy on their properties. Next slide. I also want to stress that where possible, it's always best to try to maximize the opportunity of incorporating the natural conditions with a hardened structure to support that. So I've talked to Chad Schutz, your environmental project manager, about this concept, and we really want to complement what he's been able to help accomplish with the beach nourishment, and then they're getting ready to start the planting soon. So we want it to be something that is complementary to that. Definitely don't want to disrupt or cause adverse impacts to that system. Next slide. And again, highlighting the benefits to both public and private stakeholders. public sector, there's obviously infrastructure protection, reduced emergency cost, opportunities to possibly reduce insurance for those structures that might be subject to those high-risk flood zones, where we can modify those flood zones to a lower risk category. Private sector, very similar type of benefits, property value preservation, reduce damage to the structures and the investment. And another potential is the insurance premium reduction as well. And then we have environmental and social co-benefits. So this is where we try to strengthen that dune system and also create an opportunity for some recreational, or actually some pedestrian corridor activity along the same types of features. Next slide. So I'm here today just to recap that scope of services that we've provided, obtain your feedback, answer questions, and decide if y'all want to start moving forward with that.
All right. Scott, any questions for Elizabeth?
Yeah, can you start this afternoon?
Yeah. We are ready. We've been waiting to get started, so whenever.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be beneficial for the town as a whole, especially especially the downtown area. I think it's gonna be fantastic. So, anything we can do, what do you need from us? What?
Basically just a notice to proceed with that scope
And a contract?
and a contract, yes.
I figured you
And
have
I
one in,
believe we are already
you got one in your,
we are under the continuing, like the miscellaneous professional services and several different buckets there, so.
and then let's say we engage a contract, what do you think your time frame is, start to finish to get a presentation that we can chew on?
I was just thinking about that. I think we need at least, for the initial, like, findings, probably 6 weeks,
Wow.
just to get to initial, where we've identified the target elevations that we need and, like, looked at the different portions of the island and give a progress update on that.
So I guess my question would be procedurally going forward, as she gets more information, do these come up in town council meetings, they come up in M&Ps, do we have separate meetings with the town manager and Chad? What would be what's your vision of the process of
So,
taking-
as I understand, you do have a professional service agreement with us, so then we would be initiating a task order, correct?
Yes.
Has that already been put together or not? So
don't
we
know.
will,
Not
we will need a task order that would have all those details in it. The task order could come back to council for approval, or you could delegate authority to the town manager to execute that. You know, one of the key factors of that task order is gonna be cost, and I don't know if that's been discussed or negotiated.
Our cost was put into that provided
Appro-
scope of services,
Okay.
so.
So let me ask you a follow-up question to the cost function. If you know, if she identifies like 3 areas, let's say one, obviously, you know, the low-hanging fruit's Times Square, is there a way when projects come before us and can we cover those initial costs, or is just the cost of the building?
I was gonna answer your question, but now I'm thinking you might be asking me a different question. If
I might
there's
be
a
asking two
different,
questions.
Okay, so the task
There'll be
order-
an initial cost to the town.
correct, in a task order with specific duties and responsibilities that they will fulfill. Down the road, if you want to expand that, we would either amend that task order or do a new task order for those additional services. And there may be another cost associated with that.
I guess my question is there a way that we can recoup some of these costs when these developments, if people I know we're
For
gonna
the
ask them
walls.
to participate in the wall, but is there a way to get the initial costs? Or is that on the town?
I think it's probably a town responsibility as far as.
Which is fine, I'm just,
Yes, but depending on the type of development that's coming forward, it could be viewed as a public benefit, at which point the developer might be willing to contribute to the cost.
okay.
Counselor Woodson?
Yeah, I think our goal is mainly going to identify what it needs to look like, you know,
Okay.
for the location. And then
So you're kind of giving the overall picture, hey, here's where we think it would help the most, and
Yes.
here's kind of a cost analysis of what that will be, and
yes.
timeframes, and
Yeah.
how we work with FEMA, and what, okay.
Right, and then I think it would be, you know, if it's a project coming up, that they would have the opportunity to consider doing that as part of that project, and then maybe there's an arrangement that can be worked out
Okay.
for the implementation of it.
So the cost is in the task order. What is that cost?
I believe it's broken down by task. I think the total is around, I think there's, for the coordination of meetings and the design and implementation plan, that's a 62,000, and then there's an optional continued stakeholder engagement option for another 10, depending on how far we want to go with public engagement and public meetings.
So, and you said that's in a number of different buckets, so I guess I would lean on Joe to find out what buckets those are and how they're being funded and all of those good things.
We might, maybe able to get some grant money.
Well, that's what I was
maybe
hoping, that
some
we're
monies
looking
out
at
there.
grants and all that type of thing too, but, I mean, obviously, I want to get on this as soon as possible, whatever we have to do to make this work. I think it's so valuable. I think we have to have it. You know, it's I always call it the new gold standard. And to keep this moving, I would be totally in support of delegating everything to Will to keep this moving forward and not have to wait for council meetings for approval of this and that. And you could update us instead at council meetings. Because well, at least the two of us so far are totally on board with this, so we'll see where this heads as we go down the road.
Well,
Thank you.
if I'm not mistaken, based on the number that you said, it still would fall below the threshold of what the town manager could approve worst-case scenario, leaving
Yes.
grants or potential funding sources aside. So,
Correct.
to your point, I think we could give direction if that's the way we want to go, to allow the town manager to do it without having to come back to us. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Vice Mayor?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you already have clients here on Fort Myers Beach?
Yes.
Can you share who those clients are?
Yes, we represent the Outrigger property for London Bay Development. We actually, you probably are aware, we have designed their wave mitigation wall and went through the process with FEMA, and FEMA has approved the conditional letter of map revision. So now, and we're now into the state for the state permit.
Is it just the Outrigger, or is it also the Sandpiper as well?
We're working on Sandpiper as well. We have not submitted that yet. We're finishing up the design.
And when you do work like that, in those sensitive locations on Fort Myers Beach, obviously you've learned something from that exercise. Are there synergies in what you've learned already with what you'll be doing for the town?
Absolutely.
Does that
Yes.
reduce the workload in a way?
Potentially could for those locations.
So, if you also, as you develop work product and you learn throughout the various dynamics, depending on where you're located on the island, there's a number of folks on the island who are already wrestling with some of these issues. I know some condos specifically that are desperately trying to figure out how to do wave mitigation and try to, create enhanced resiliency. How does it work with your work product and these various entities? In other words, will you be working cooperatively with them and their coastal engineers? I mean, do you see a synergy there? Because I hate to see duplication. I hate to see a wall, I hate to use that term wall, but I don't want to see a wall between what you're doing and what they're doing privately to enhance their resiliency.
Correct.
Because they're all interrelated.
Yes.
And your wave wall will impact what they're doing for resiliency and vice versa. So, and I know definitively that there's already some condos looking at solutions, and obviously this could be a blessing to them, but they'd also need to adjust strategically with their coastal engineers based upon what you may or may not, or what we may or may not do going forward. So
Correct.
how do you see all that working?
Ideally, I think it would be nice to know specifically who those properties are, and actually, I would probably like to talk to them and find out where they are in the process.
But you'd be open to that, and you see that
Yes.
as part of your charge?
Yes.
Great.
Vice Mayor, just to piggyback on what you said, perhaps a meeting being set up between Elizabeth and her firm and any condos that are considering this in an open forum to be able to have discussions. To your point, to have duplication of resources doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you could incorporate all that at one time,
Right.
it would be beneficial for both sides, I would think.
I think that'd be great, and I think
Because then we
also,
can share with them what we've learned
yes,
and what we know doesn't work and what works.
and they can bring their condo board members, they can
Mhm.
bring their coastal engineer, same
Yes.
with residents, same with some businesses on the island who are exploring various, strategies. I think that kind of interaction is gonna be critical, because it could end up saving everyone a lot of money, and some certainly hardship, should we have another event, like we've had. So I think that's a big piece of this puzzle, because, and I know it's gonna be challenging, but if we could have some uniformity with what our strategy across the island would be, it certainly would make it much more effective strategy if we're all in this together, as opposed to everybody doing their own thing.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I think you need to build that into your strategy in terms of outreach and collaboration.
See, I would also like to include, like, all the owners of Times Square, and, that's a massive, big group. And so if we could not just have condo owners, but businesses and neighborhoods, if you will. I mean, it could become a huge meeting for you.
It's okay.
Yeah,
But I'm
And we
just
can have-
saying,
we
to
can
get
have more than
everybody
one,
on
so-
the same page, so that they all know what is happening.
Yes.
I think that would be fantastic.
absolutely. Residents, condos, businesses, all would certainly be included in that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Counselor Kane?
No questions, but just a couple things to share. Last Wednesday at their meeting, the MRF committee voted 4-3 to advise town council to continue moving forward on the wave mitigation wall. And also, I know Elizabeth had talked about funding with grants and things, and Karen had brought up, asking Joe to look into it. With the Florida League of Cities, they do have a grants assistance program with a dedicated grant coordinator, so maybe that's something we can utilize, since we don't have a position filled currently for that, so. That's it.
Elizabeth, did I hear you correct in saying that the outrigger parcel has already gotten the approval letter for Loma? Is that?
It's a conditional letter of map revision, a CLOMR,
Mhm.
and that, it's conditional because it's based on the proposed project, but, based on the implementation of that wall. FEMA's reviewed the modeling, and they are satisfied with the project and the results.
So
And
how
then-
does that, if there is an amendment to the map, how does that work? Does that come after the construction?
Yes.
So then they review it again after their construction?
We-
And
we
make a
pro- Yeah,
determination.
we provide the as-built information to basically formalize the map change. We show them that it's been built based on the previous approval, like the criteria for it's all been met. And then, that's when they will memorialize it and then actually change the maps.
And the reason this is so important, at least to me, is to be able to see what that potentially could mean for not just residents, but businesses as well. This weekend I visited a place up on another barrier island that was built at grade level, about the same distance from the water as Times Square.
Yeah.
And not understanding exactly how that was possible over the last 24 hours, doing some research on it and having help from people out in the general public, it seems like that was probably the same path that they went through that Loma letter, to be able to show that their elevation and the wave mitigation, the way they designed it, caused them to allow to be built back at grade level versus having to elevate. So it's extremely important that there's a possibility that this can work, and I've seen it firsthand now, which really shocked me. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that. What is your plan when you're coming forward? Are you looking at, we had talked about doing an entire island wide. Are you going to have different scenarios, or are you going to this is where it makes sense, because you had mentioned that, you know, we're gonna look at different locations. So are you looking at a continuous type thing potentially? Or are you looking at just this section, this section, this section of the island?
I was initially planning to kind of divide the island into sections, basically maybe where the land use adjacent to the beach is pretty similar.
Mhm.
So where you have mostly commercial or mostly condos and mostly single-family residential. And then another layer would be based on how much beach, you know, the width of the beach. I know as you go down south, it gets a lot wider, and then you've got the environmental critical area as well. So those are gonna be locations where that feature is gonna change, because the shoreline conditions are different. And then I know that, you know, on the landward side of it, when you got the different land uses, there could be different preferences about how you treat any pedestrian type of corridor. So I think we would have something different compared to commercial, going from commercial to residential. People may not want other public members
Mhm.
walking, you know, in their backyard or in their
What is it, going backwards a little bit to the map adjustment
Yeah.
or amendment? What is a time frame usually in your experience of completion of this type of product to seeing a map adjustment?
So, construction, I know, I've seen it take maybe a couple months for construction, just for the wall itself.
No, I meant after construction is
after-
complete,
Okay.
then the review comes in of the potential changes to that map adjustment.
FEMA's review, probably 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
And then, once they will issue a letter of map revision document, determination document. On that document, there'll be an effective date, there'll be an issue date and an effective date. And the issue date is the date that that document was printed and sent out. The effective date is, like, there's a gap in time, and that's when the map change will actually be in effect. And it's typically 90 days after they do their own public notice period for a couple weeks. So, the issuance will be like, you know, 4 to 6 months, but then there'll be another few months after that before it becomes effective.
And you mentioned that you have the Outriggers, or London Bay property is one of them that you're working through.
Yes.
You have designs of that already. I wonder if they'd be comfortable with you sharing that with the council and staff to be able to kind of see what it looks like and get a better understanding of, you know, what each phase of the construction looks like and what the final product would look like.
I will ask them. I know that when we submitted to the state for the CCCL permit. And we had, in order to complete that package, we had to submit to town, the planning and zoning department for the letter of non-contravene to make sure that the project didn't contravene any of the zoning or setback regulations. So town staff has seen
Okay.
the plan, but we can, I'm sure and we'll be submitting for a local construction permit once we get a little bit further down the road with the state.
Okay.
Can I piggyback on that?
Absolutely, yeah.
I just wanted to, worst-case scenario, if you just build the wave wall in front of the outrigger and the sandpiper, let's just focus on the outrigger for a second.
Yes.
Is it fair to say, and I believe you said this at an earlier meeting, that there would be benefits, even if it was just that section, to those properties across Acero Boulevard? Obviously, Town Hall's right across, but there's also a lot of residential neighborhoods right across. Would they benefit if it was just that one property alone, or does it have to be longer than that for other properties to benefit?
No, they will benefit, because the effect of the wave it progresses as it propagates landward, so it's at a lower elevation, and it keeps getting lower as it goes towards Estero and across Estero Park Boulevard. The map change is probably just limited, because we tie into the existing effective mapping at Estero Boulevard, pretty much. So there wouldn't be a materialistic change in the zone that they're in, but from a realistic standpoint, should waves come up on the property, it will be at a lower level than what it would be without the wall.
Thank you.
Just, you said something that kind of piqued my ears up a little bit. So you said the zone wouldn't necessarily change. Are you talking about for the affected property that's building it, or the properties adjacent or behind it?
The properties behind it.
But
But-
there's a potential zone change to the existing property?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted
yes.
to clarify
Yes.
that, because it
And how
sounded
the mapping-
different.
Yeah, it's basically how the mapping works. When we revise the mapping, we have to be able to tie into an existing effective mapped zone that's on the current map. So that's the goal, is we make sure that we extend that revision out to where we meet the effective mapping.
So just for clarification, based on that example that I gave you of the restaurant that I was talking about, if you look at the map, the circle around that property is outside the VE zone. Is that similar to, is that basically what you're talking about, if the map amendment were to happen?
Yes,
That
yeah, there'll
property,
be a- you'll
even
see
though
a-
both sides and behind it are in a specific zone, that one
Yeah.
could be an elevated zone?
Yeah, there's portions that may, because we have to have a gradual transition, so there's portions of the adjacent properties that might get touched, but for the most part, it will just be where that wall is, protecting that
Right next
property
to it,
and
okay.
changing that zone, yes. Unless you do, something more comprehensive,
Sure.
and then it could take care of more properties, contiguous properties.
Makes sense. That's
Yep.
part of the reason why we'd really like to
Yes.
see what a full island, in a perfect world, if you could do a full island solution, what that would look like
Yes.
as far as the flood map zones for the island itself.
Mhm.
All right, so you need direction from us, I assume. Does anyone
sir.
have any objection to directing the town manager to move forward with discussions, and the town attorney to move forward with discussions with Elizabeth and her firm, obviously seeking as much grant funding as possible to help offset any costs under the maximum allowable, under the town manager's purview? Any objections?
No objection.
Consent.
No objections whatsoever.
Is that sufficient for you?
Yes.
Do you need a motion, or just consent is fine?
I always prefer motions.
So
Okay.
moved.
Got a motion by Counselor Safford. I will second. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And Counselor King?
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Thanks,
Thank you
Elizabeth.
very much.
Good luck. Looking forward to seeing what you got. All right, that brings us to our administrative agenda. The first item is Resolution 25-246, a designation of emergency contact. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, designating an emergency contact and an alternative emergency contact as required by Section 252.38 3A Florida statutes, providing for notification of same and providing for an effective date. Town Manager?
As reads, just a
Okay.
requirement of a recent Florida statute that we designate, my recommendation, designate myself as the emergency contact and Tom Yazzo as our alternate.
Any questions for staff? Is there a motion for Resolution 25-246?
Move approval, Mayor.
Got a motion
I'll
by Counselor
second.
King, seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item B, this is for RFP-24-06-AD, ongoing miscellaneous professional service agreements. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, accepting, rejecting, or modifying the ranks of the professional services firms by the town manager as recommended by the selection advisory committees based on the responses received to RFQ-24-06-AD for ongoing miscellaneous professional services. Authorize the town manager or designee to negotiate with the top-ranked firms for each category of work included within the request for qualifications and providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor Manager?
Great work by our Community Development Director and his team and others across the staff to come up with this list. It's a Rolodex of professional service firms that we will work with in upcoming projects. Frankie is here to talk in more detail. If you have questions on it, I recommend approval.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Will or for Frankie, based on the very detailed packet information?
So I've got one question, just for full transparency. When you create this list, is there any ex parte or any, hey, this is Tommy's cousin's company, or Jerry's wife is, is there anything so the public knows where we got, is there any relationships with the town that people should know about?
Good morning. Frankie Kropacek, for the record, Community Development Director for the town of Fort Myers Beach. Councilman Stafford, no. And the reason I'll say no is some firms we have worked with, they're welcome to rebid on a project. We base each category, when we do this every few years, to see what the needs are at that time. So their proposals are treated just like anybody else. They send us what we ask for information-wise, depending on where they are. And then the group that's appointed by the town manager goes through each prospectus and ranks them accordingly. Some meet the requirements, some don't, some partially do, some don't. And it was always in the past where we've selected one out of each category. And I think in this current run of it, we just wanted to get a little deeper reach. Sometimes when you reach out to number one, they're busy, they can't get to you in time or to handle your situation, so it's always nice to have a backup. So we tried to expand that Rolodex, but still keep it in the top scoring companies in each field. Our contracts manager, Deb Glavin, did a fantastic job of putting it all together for us. So to answer your question again, I think we've done a very independent and non-biased approach to vetting these companies that we have.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question. As new companies come into play or want to be involved with the town, is there a specific vetting process for them, or do they just bid as a new person, or how does that work?
Currently, we've had that ever since I've been here over the last 3 years, where somebody will come and say, hey, I've got this service, and I know so-and-so does this, but I can do it because I'm local. We wait until we provide that every 2 years, come through, out of fairness. In this case, due to Debbie, Elaine, and Milton, we're finally getting around to vetting this in front of you that should have been actually done probably last fall. So it'll allow us to start using the vendors in this list. Any new vendors will have to come through the next offering that we put out, which apparently will be fairly shortly.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Frankie, I'm just curious, is there anything the public can glean from this in the sense that it sounds like you've been here relatively close to Hurricane Ian. I mean, you came shortly afterwards. There's always a challenge, and I think Nancy, our town attorney, has opined that we really can't offer a list of approved vendors or recommended vendors for liability reasons. But is there anything that the public can glean? Because obviously you've lived through these vendors and saw the good ones and the bad ones. Is there anything the public can look at from this list and glean for their own situation, their own or businesses on the island, seeing that, hey, the town's used these folks, they've obviously had a good experience. I know various media outlets like Beach Talk Radio has tried to get the word out about good vendors. Is there anything that the public can take away from this and learn from?
Yes, there is. And the way I'll phrase it is, these are professional services that complement what we're doing in-house at the town, either helping us with grant management, helping us with long-term infrastructure projects. So that's kind of, we're looking at a larger, more professional grade, if you will, phrase, of a contractor. I know the town used to provide a registered contractors list for homeowners to reach through. I don't prescribe to that personally, because a good contractor to me may not be a good contractor to you.
Right.
So it's one of those things where we're constantly asking, if you are dealing on the residential side of contracting and looking for professional services that way, always ask for a licensed professional contractor that's licensed with the state of Florida. That's your first step. Your second step should be going to the Better Business Bureau, seeing where they're rated. When we're doing this on approach for the town, we're looking at more of engineering firms. We're looking at, it might be a whole different design firms for helping us with new projects that we're doing, either like what we've got going on currently at Bay Oaks or throughout the town with our stormwater, those type of things. And those are the kind of professional services that we're carrying there.
But if someone has attempted to perform services for the town over the last 3 years and did not meet the standards of the town, they will not be on this list, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Kane?
Nothing additional.
Frankie, all the names on here are pretty familiar to me. Are there any major shakeups? I didn't notice any between who we used in the past or recommended in the past. compared to what this
No,
list is?
there's been a few changes, like in the engineering. Ms. Fountain, who's here, I'm happy to say, will be joining our Rolodex. But that was already, like I said, this was a year and a half out before she even came and talked to you guys about the wave mitigation wall. Those type of things of just looking for people that are local, but provide that full range of service. You know, when we're looking, it's great to have many offices throughout the state of Florida, but if they're not in Southwest Florida and they don't live what we're living through, what really help can they offer? So that's one thing that we're looking for, is try to get that local feel, helping our projects, knowing our condition, especially being what we've gone through in the last couple of years.
The only other question I had in looking at these numbers, and it's not relative to anything, but I noticed, like, you and Joe, everything was either 95 to 100, and then, like, Chad or someone else was always, Jeff and all them were, you know, in the 50s to 70s. So was there any reasoning as to why, you know?
I can't speak for the others. This was brought up afterwards, you know, because we cannot talk during the process.
Right.
But, so afterwards, it was kind of brought up. I just look for somebody that's gonna give us that top-tier professional service. I mean, my background in county government, we always had somebody that worked for us that just was the best in their field. And that's kind of what I was looking at. I was judging everybody. Did you meet these requirements? And if you did, you got those scores. If you didn't, I didn't score you. You know, and then I wanted to have the ability myself to be able to score at least several close in number or ranking, so we would develop that professional Rolodex going forward.
I guess I just didn't know if there was, each individual person had different numbers that they were working off of, because it just seemed weird that some were scoring 60 and some were scoring 100, but
Yeah.
they both were the highest in that category, just the numbers were so much different. I didn't know if there was a reason
Just
for it.
your professional take on it and what you're looking for to get out of that prospectus that you're reviewing.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's not a huge thing. I was just curious, you know, usually who was rated highest was the highest across the board. For the most part, it's just a big discrepancy in numbers. All right. Anything else for Frankie? All right, thanks, Frankie.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no more discussion, is there a motion for RFP-24-06-AD for ongoing miscellaneous professional service agreements?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Woodson,
Second.
seconded by Counselor King. Any further discussion? Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is item C. This is a resolution 25-250, accepting of St. Peter's Drive deed. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, accepting a deed from Matanzas Point Homeowners Association, Inc., conveying St. Peter's Drive to the town for use of a public road, directing the town clerk to record the deed in the official records of Lee County, Florida, providing a severability cause and providing an effective date.
No issues from the town on this, recommend approval.
All right, any questions for staff?
No, I will note that the association has maintained or retained the responsibility for maintaining the 2 landscape islands. And I think Jim Bowen is here if you wanted to add anything.
Okay, Jim, do you want to add anything to that? You gotta come up, Jim, if you're gonna.
Jim Bowen, Vice President of the Townhome, or of the
Jim, while you're-
Homeowners Association.
Jim, while you're up there, might just give just a 30-second history too, just for folks who are watching.
Yes. When the subdivision was platted by the county, it was intended to have a private drive with a gate. Subsequent to that, either the fire department or the town, the gate was denied. But the road was actually platted as a public road. It's been open, it's been used as a public road since the subdivision was built. The association has requested that town consider making a public road. The town has exercised jurisdiction over the road over the last 20 years. At one point repaving it, taking care of streetlight repairs, drainage. So I think from our standpoint, it's a way of formalizing what has been taking place for a number of years. There are 2 landscape circles, one at the entrance and one at the end. the association would like to continue to maintain those.
Any
I'm
other,
open for any questions.
any questions for Jim? John?
None.
Vice Mayor?
No.
Karen?
I'm good.
Scott?
I'm good.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
There's also 4 streetlights that the town will be taking over on that road.
Okay. Is there a motion for Resolution 25-250 to accept the St. Peter's Drive deed?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move approval of Resolution 25-250.
Second.
Got a motion by Counselor, or Vice Mayor Adderholt, seconded by Counselor King. Any further discussion? Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Jim. Next is item D, which we removed, we pulled. Takes us to item E. This is a special event, farmer's market. This is the shop local products. It is requesting to have farmer's markets at Santini Plaza from November 2025 through April of 2026 at the Moss Marina, and from October 2025 through April 2026. Frankie?
Hi, Frankie Kropacek again, Community Development. Working with the Millers, they had also requested that a produce trailer could be put at the far south end when they do their farmer market, and perhaps throughout the week. After talking to the property owner and through the Millers, it is part of the farmer's market. It is a towable trailer. It meets our current requirements that we have. And so we just added that little piece to the Santini Plaza Farmers Market that they will be having. As far as Fort Myers, the downtown area, they already have an agreement with Moss Marine. They've asked the town if they could use the transition area in Times Square. We're still not allowing any drivability in that area. We do have the bullers up, but they are free if they walk in and set up to use it just like they did previously. So,
All right. Scott, any questions for
Not this time.
Karen?
I'm good.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you for the produce truck in Santini Plaza. That is a very popular item, so good job.
Counselor King?
Nothing.
Thanks, Frankie. All right, is there a motion to approve the special event permit for Santini Farmers Market and the Moss Marine Farmers Market for November of 2025 through April of 2026, and October of 2025 through April of 2026?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor Woodson. I'll second. Any further discussion? Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next is the special event for Island Hopper Songwriters Festival. This is to approve of the Island Hopper Songwriters Festival special event to be held September 26, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., September 27th, 2025, from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m., and September 28th, 2025, from 1 p.m. till 4:30 p.m. at Bayside Park, with alcohol to be served on town property during the event from tents, and request to waive enforcement of noise ordinance until 10 p.m. for the special event, and the $150 park rental fee.
Okay.
Jackie?
Jackie Lezak, President, Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce. I'm standing in for iHeartMedia and Lee County Visitor Convention Bureau, who are responsible for putting on the Island Hopper. And we are assisting by helping them pull the permit for the Bayside Park for the weekend. Do I have any questions about the event? It's pretty standard, same thing we've done every year, year after year. They'll have some 10-by-10 tents out there and have their own stage production team, and we'll manage all of the events on the Bayside Park.
So the question I have, who's operating the alcohol? It's going to be alcohol. Is it going to be the?
Nervous Nellies and Snug Harbor on their properties.
Okay. And are they the ones requesting the $150 park fee to be waived, or
I
is it
believe
the songwriters?
Lee County is requesting that,
Okay.
the VCB.
Scott, question?
I do not.
It's extended this year, right? Like extra days for sand sculpting
No,
compared
this
to last
is
year?
Island Hopper.
Oh, Island Hopper, I'm totally the
singer-songwriter,
wrong
yeah.
thing. Okay, yes,
But yes,
fine.
sand sculpting will be extended,
It
but
is
that's not here
extended,
yet.
all right, not
Yeah.
here yet, got it.
Yeah.
I have no other questions, obviously.
Vice Mayor?
Jackie, this looks like a wonderful location. I have just a question. I don't expect you to know because it may be premature, but usually for the Songwriters Festival, there's other locations on the island that are hosting. Do you have any details yet as to who they are and where they'll be or when they'll be?
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's all of the ones that we had last year. So Pink Shell, Diamond Head will have some here. I believe Yucatan. I think Nervous Nellies may be doing some of them. I'm not 100% sure. And probably Wahoo Willies as well.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, same places as last year. And obviously hoping to continue to expand that as we get new businesses
Very
open.
good. Yep, thanks.
Counselor King?
No question.
The only question I have is for Nancy, not you, Jackie, and it's just
Oh.
a procedural question, because you're involved.
Yeah.
Does it have any effect on whether Scott or myself can vote on this? I just want to make sure procedurally we're not doing anything that we can't do.
I think that
Nothing against
she's-
Jackie, just that
Yeah,
you're
no,
involved.
because I'm
She
standing
is
up for
not
it.
the actual applicant.
Well, the
She is
chamber
standing in
helps to
for
pull the
them.
permit for them.
And there's no financial.
There's no
benefit.
But there's no
financial
financial
benefit.
gain on
Just wanna
any of
make
it,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Dotting the i's and crossing the t's. that's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank
I
you.
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right, thanks, Jackie.
Sure, thank you.
All right, any further discussion or motion for the special event Island Hopper Songwriters Festival?
I'll move approval of special event Island Hopper Songwriters Festival.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Vice Mayor Adderholt, seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Just that this is a really great event every year that really benefits the town. So looking forward to it. Vice Mayor Adderholt,
Aye.
Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Counselor Stafford,
Aye.
Counselor King,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is final public comment. Madam
I don't have anyone signed up, but I believe we have some
Alright.
people here.
Who would
that-
like to, anyone like to speak in our final public comment? Barry, come on up.
Hi, Barry Frank, resident, Fort Myers Beach. Hello to everybody. It's been a while since I've been in front of you. I just have been waiting for some of the things that we're getting to now, and very happy to hear the progress that we're making. I just wanted to ask for my own and for the town and for anybody else who's coming in who might want to do something, be a new person on the, say, a commercial property, to do something. Are they going to be able to have a trailer if they need a construction trailer, or do anything to promote themselves on that piece of property, should they be not the owner of the property? Similar thing to like maybe what Tom has going with Chris, as far as Laola goes. They're two different people, and of course they've been established, so it's probably pretty much just a regular thing. However, if there's someone new coming in and wanted to build something where Sea Gypsy was, or whatever it may be, are they going to be allowed to do the same thing that the owner would do on the property, as far as trailers go, or any type of promoting themselves? Anyway, I just want you to think about that when you're making all of the decisions. This is definitely a future thing, but if you take care of it up front, maybe it'll be easier. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Come on.
Hi, Fred Malone, Buffalo Grill, 1021 Estero. Obviously, I've been pretty boisterous about the trailers. Some of you will be affected by it. I had a meeting with Dr. Tracy and Will and Scott, and it was kind of a breath of fresh air to finally meet some people that actually want to work towards a solution. I just want to commend them for it. It felt like they weren't talking out of both sides of their mouth. They were actually sincere about it, trying to keep hundreds of jobs, millions of dollars of revenue on this island. I'm glad you're working towards that. I'm glad the wave wall, because we personally are looking to rebuild down at Times Square. I'm working with our landlord to build something down there. So keeping trailers on the island, I think, is very important. One of the other things I just wanted to mention about the trailers for commercial properties is you need to have more than one on a commercial property. You have to allow more than one. I know what Barry was getting at was, you know, for myself, I want to operate while we build. There's other businesses that are going to be coming to this island. You know, for instance, if, you know, I don't know, just any building is being built and there's a business that's going in there, they want to be able to operate while that building is being built. There should be a provision in there to allow that person to have a trailer or something to operate out of while their building is being built as a tenant. I know you're not going to issue new permits for new businesses, but if it's somebody that can provide a lease showing they're going to be here on the island, let them get established, let them operate, find a new location where they can operate while their building is being built. I think those are just things you have to look at for other businesses that are going to be coming into this, you know, into Fort Myers Beach, which we obviously all know we need more business down here. So I just wanted to say, you know, thank you, and it was a breath of fresh air to meet with you guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Town manager's items. Will?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first one that we do want to talk about is, I believe Nancy has provided a draft resolution that she'd like to go through with all of us today and seek some clarifying guidance from you and the council. Nancy.
Thank you. If I may, and I'm going to go through this very slowly because this is a very important issue and there's a lot of details and a lot of moving parts. I wanted to start off the conversation by reminding you of your current ordinance that you have in effect, which is Ordinance 24-04. This was the ordinance that was adopted in March of 2024. That particular ordinance basically revoked and rescinded the prior ordinance that created temporary placement permits. And those were permits that were issued immediately after Hurricane Ian caused devastating damage to residents and to commercial establishments. When the ordinance was amended, there were a couple additional provisions that were put in there. First of all, in Section 2, it provided for when these prior temporary placement permits, now known as emergency temporary placement permits, when they would expire, what was added was the ability for town council in certain situations, as it finds itself in today, by resolution to go ahead and provide for an additional extension beyond what the ordinance currently has in it. The use of the emergency temporary placement permits is very limited. In the first paragraph of the new ordinance, town council will announce when these type of permits would be available following an emergency such as a catastrophic storm or something else. So on a typical day, you basically cannot come and get an emergency temporary placement permit. So as you're aware, many of these were issued, some of them were issued to structures that were found to be non-compliant with our flood regulations. However, others appeared to be in compliance with that. The deadline for the removal or the permitting of these structures or units appears to be, the prior permits will be expiring on September the 23rd. So based on the authority that you have in your existing ordinance, by resolution, you can grant an additional extension to the holders of these permits under certain circumstances that may constitute a hardship. The question, your current ordinance right now gives the discretion to the town manager to figure out what is a hardship and what is not a hardship, what kind of documentation. The current number that I've been made aware of is that there are 51 commercial emergency temporary placement permits out there and 158 residential permits that are pending. We have a September 23rd deadline that we need to either extend these permits or let them expire and move on to whatever code enforcement issues may be addressed. So in order to expedite the whole process and to provide some certainty to folks that find themselves in this situation, the resolution that I propose to present to you.
Nancy, just so we don't get confused, or I don't get confused, these numbers that you referenced, the 51 commercial and the 158 residential, this is completely separate from the FEMA visit and their list of properties, or are they interrelated? Are they not related? Are these apples and oranges?
They are separate.
Okay.
They are separate, and Dr.
Yeah,
Kohler is
if
confirming.
you don't mind, yeah, there may be some crossover.
Overlap.
There'll be some crossover with these numbers. And if I can add to the numbers, that the 51 and the 158 are currently what we have permits on file for. Not necessarily that there are 51 commercial trailers out there right
Yep.
now on the island. Some may have closed up and they're no longer here,
And
et
there
cetera.
may be
So
some
those are the
here that
numbers we
don't
have on file.
And there may be some here that don't have permits.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's helpful, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So, again, in order to expedite and to give some certainty to holders of these permits, the way that the draft resolution that is being presented to you today for discussion and possible approval would be to define a hardship 9 different ways. The first would be a delay in processing any type of Elevate Florida application. The second would be experiencing a delay in obtaining construction mortgage or refinancing, experiencing a delay based on an inability to find licensed professionals to rebuild, a delay due to a dispute with a licensed professional or an insurance adjuster or carrier, a delay that is due to the lack of available equipment or material to complete construction, a hardship that might be present due to the inability to sell property that you're needing to transfer, a hardship due to the inability to secure an alternative location to operate a business or your residence, a hardship due to a delay in the permitting process where there's an exchange of documents back and forth and that seems to have caused a delay, or possibly even a hardship that's due to extended family illness or death of the property owner or the business. So today, should you agree to go forward with this resolution, you are identifying for the town manager certain situations that in your minds would constitute a hardship that would merit an additional extension. But there may be other things or circumstances that in the eyes of a permit holder might be a hardship. Those would come to you for further review as to whether a hardship should be provided.
Can I interrupt you?
Mhm.
Come to us or to the town manager?
If it's not on this list, it would come to you.
Okay.
In addition, so what the holder of the permit would be required to do is to provide documentation of the hardship that has been identified in the 1 through 9 to substantiate the claim. We are not specifically looking for detailed financial situation because anything that you provide to the town is public record. However, it should be documentation such that a reasonable person would conclude that, yes, there was a delay due to some type of issue with construction mortgage financing or something to that effect. So in addition to the documentation to be presented to the town manager, we would also ask the permit holder to provide a plan of how they are going to resolve that hardship situation that they find themselves in. Also, we would need some direction from you, should you decide to go forward with this proposed process in your resolution, how quickly you would like the town manager to begin accepting applications, how long of an extension should be given by the town manager in this process. They've already had, since Hurricane Ian, your current code provides for 18 months, and we are well beyond that. Do you want 6 months? Do you want 12 months? Do you want 9 months? Again, it's a policy direction that we need from you. A question was also raised in view of the staff work that's involved in processing these. Should there be an administrative fee associated with it? And how quickly would you like us to move forward? I also wanted to remind you that the decision-making and the processing from an administrative perspective by the town manager, that is subject to appeal. For example, if I'm a permit holder and I provide documentation to the town manager, and here's my plan to get out of my situation, and he thinks that my explanation or my documentation is invalid or bogus or whatever, I do have the right to appeal to you as the town council, and you have an existing appeal process in 34-86 of your Code of Ordinances. So this is one possible, since our last meeting where this issue has come up, this is one possible solution that has come up regarding that. You've heard discussion from the public today, as well as I know there's been additional discussion about how do we address some of these perhaps commercial uses that are coming into the town. I just wanted to present to you and remind you that you do have a current ordinance regarding temporary uses. Now, the current ordinance, this is, and I think at the last meeting I alluded to the Christmas tree sales, the holiday or seasonal annual sales. Those are just two examples. There is a section on construction projects which requires storage, parking areas, construction trailers, site screening, and/or other temporary activities during construction of the project, and which terminate upon completion of the project. Based on your discussion today in whatever direction, we could amend that code section to perhaps address some of the issues and concerns, like how many of these, quote, trailers. And I think we would also want to make sure that there is no misunderstanding that any of these temporary uses must be compliant with your flood regulations. It doesn't really specifically say that at this point. However, I think it would be a good policy decision to go ahead and do that, to show FEMA that we really are trying to comply. And for example, the Christmas tree sales up to 45 days. So if my calculation's correct, that would put us in mid-October, right? And that's the middle of hurricane season. So have we been checking to make sure any of these Christmas sales or seasonal or holiday sales that fall within the hurricane season, that they are compliant with our flood regulations? So this is the town being proactive by really amending its existing code to be further in line with our flood regulations.
Wouldn't 45 days be like first or second week in November?
From Christmas?
Yeah, 25 and 20s.
Let's see, my math's off.
Well, you got
Sorry
me.
about that. But with that said, however, in November, we still have had some storms
Sure.
as a possibility. So we don't lose anything by having our temporary use ordinance further in line with our obligations under our flood regulations.
So the other question I have with regards to, being FEMA compliant, I know we have had discussions about having an evacuation plan. Is that part of it?
Yes,
i.e. I've-
that'll be articulated in the application, the ETP.
And that whatever trailer they have has to be always road-ready. I mean, it can't have 4 flat tires and
Correct.
a rusty hitch and all that. I mean, they've got to be
Road ready,
Road-ready.
licensed, registered,
licensed,
towable by light duty
registered.
vehicle. Correct.
Does that have to be codified in this
Yes,
resolution?
I think we
All that
should add
documentation?
that. That's a very good point. So that would be, the sentence reads, "The burden is on the property owner or business owner to provide documentation of the hardship, a plan for resolving the hardship, to obtain the extension, and an evacuation plan,"
You-
which would require the unit to be road-ready and all that.
FEMA compliant.
And I'm not trying to
We could
find,
be FEMA compliant.
and I'm not trying to find it, just for clarity, that this is just for extending those current permits that were issued after Hurricane Ian. This is not any new permits available, this is just extending what's there.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
What I don't see in here is there's no backstop for those who were issued. So I go back to the intent. The intent was to allow people to operate business and to allow people to get people back to work. Obviously, some people have embellished on that intent. I don't see anything in here that corrects that embellishment. And what I mean is, what I'm looking at is a potential of having someone, 209 properties come in to appeal something because they may be in a code violation situation right now. There's nothing in here that I see that prohibits them from applying for the extension of a permit that they received that they're now not in compliance of.
Well, it requires them to be in compliance with our flood regulations. If they are non-compliant, they will not get an extension.
And I didn't see that. Where is that at? Or is that what we just talked about adding?
No, that would be on, the very last sentence on page 2. The holder of any extended ETPPS must comply with all of the town's floodplain regulations, which incorporate federal regulations adopted by the
Okay.
Federal Emergency Management Agency.
All right, so that's basically saying the same thing that I just said.
Yes, so it's in there. And
Okay.
the other thing I wanted to point out that's the prior sentence is, any extension shall include continuation of any previously imposed conditions. Because when those permits, were initially issued, there were some conditions that were placed on, I think, a few of them. So those would carry over as well. They would still apply.
So Nancy, just going up 10,000 feet here, for those who can demonstrate that they are rebuilding in good faith, how is that encompassed in this discussion here?
So they would come and ask for an extension based on a hardship, which is a delay due to a delay in construction.
So they'd have to explain why they're not in their new home or business already?
Yes, and I would suggest it be done in a general manner that would be suitable for Will, where he can determine that that is a actual hardship and not just a opportunity to extend and not really address
So-
the issue.
So if that's the case, I'd like to, since 9 is an odd number, I'd like to add a 10th one if everybody's in agreement. It seems like we've all heard horror stories of folks who've had various disputes with contractors who have been less than respectable. And I wonder if we could add one similar to the language in 4 and just say delayed due to a dispute with a licensed contractor. And they'd obviously then have to demonstrate that they're in litigation or mediation or whatever with that contractor. I
Isn't
think
that
that would,
number 4?
Just
number 4 is with insurance or adjuster. It has to do with
Licensed
insurance.
professional.
Licensed professional.
Is, when you say licensed professional, are you trying to capture the contractor dynamic
An
there?
architect and,
Engineer.
Okay, I
engineer.
did, without that, I
but
didn't.
we could put a parentheses and add those 3, including but not limited to.
I think, a dentist is a licensed professional. I think we put some clarity on that. I'm not trying to be, just trying to be a little bit more clear so people who read this would know what,
Maybe add the word building?
yeah, building,
Would that
professional.
cover all of the?
I think that's good.
A licensed building professional.
Yeah, that might be
Okay.
helpful. Because when I read that, I didn't sense contractor was captured, but building professional would be fine, yeah.
Dentist. Picking on the denti.
Anti-dentite?
Hmm.
I'm not.
You better not be.
So I also have another question. So when we initially did this, wasn't the intent that we would be providing these temporary trailers to businesses, and I'm just strictly talking businesses right now, who had already been doing business on the island? So for example, I'll just take the weed truck up in Times Square. I mean, yes, he's on property that he's renting from an owner there, but there was no business like that before.
I remember the discussions were along the lines of, there was talk about giving preference to the person that was there originally, and obviously not everybody was gonna come back.
Right.
I don't remember off the top of my head if it was, I don't believe it was codified in anything that specifically said it had to be the business that was there before. But there was definitely a lot of discussion about giving the emphasis to those that were there beforehand, not after.
Yeah, it actually is in your existing ordinance. It talks about within commercial zoning districts, an ETPP may be issued to an owner or lessee of the property to operate a business that was existing on the property prior to the natural disaster or emergency, or a similar new business. A new business or a change in use dissimilar to the use that was in existence prior to the natural disaster or emergency by an owner or lessee of the property is not eligible for an ETPP. That is the emergency one. However, in your code, you do have a temporary use, which is a separate path to perhaps accomplishing what has come up a bit regarding commercial uses. But the emergency temporary placement permit is a very narrow, very strict emergency type permit after a natural disaster or other emergency.
Yeah, you just jogged my memory. I remember it was specifically put in there because of that. We didn't want a restaurant that was a site for a restaurant to all of a sudden be able to allow a hardware store.
Right.
But if you were retail, you're retail. If you're, hospitality, you're hospitality. That's what the discussion was around, I think, Karen, when
Okay.
we had that. We just didn't want, so to your point, just using the weed truck, I don't know that we ever had a weed business on the island, but that would have been one that didn't fall within what the intent was, I think, is what you're trying to get at.
Right. So is that extension then covered in this, or lack of extension?
In my opinion, it shouldn't be. If you're reading what Nancy just read, it doesn't mean the intent of, or what is written in the code. Is
Right.
that, or in the ordinance.
So
So
then
it could have
would not
been
be.
an existing code violation that maybe wasn't caught.
Here, and again, this is what gets me back to, we're trying to fix and we're trying to help, but are we gonna create more of a mess for ourselves based on what we're discussing? Are there gonna be businesses out there that weren't, based on what you just read, Nancy, in the original ordinance?
We have the 51, and we will be looking closely at each one of those to see who actually has a permit that is proper, that is not in violation of your code.
Correct. And I think Nancy pointed out maybe the code ordinance that we have for TPPs, among other adjustments, we can adjust similarly to this
For
discussion right
temporary
now.
uses.
Correct. The emergency temporary permit process, I believe, covers this.
Yes, the
Well-
emergency temporary placement permit covers your extensions, but from a policy in your code right now, you have an entirely separate ordinance that talks about temporary uses, like seasonal sales, like, Christmas trees, things like that. And construction, because construction is identified, but it's still kind of general and maybe a little vague.
I just see a headache coming, I'm fully in support of trying to extend those who are having a hardship, what I don't want to see is our agenda filled up with 51 businesses who think that because they want to, for whatever reason, not follow the rules, that they have some sort of hardship that we should, or three of us up here should feel sorry for them because either they weren't here before the storm, or they've decided they want to add things that weren't allowed
So
under the
can you
permit.
give me an example?
Well, I prefer not to, but I think we all know there are several on the island that are like that.
Because I don't, and I'm not arguing, I'm just trying to,
I guess here'd be the easiest way for me to say it.
yeah.
If there's a code violation, there's no way that they can get to this process, correct?
Correct.
Until
Yeah.
they come into compliance with the
Until they come
floodplain.
into
Okay.
compliance.
I think that's what you're
That's what
kind
I'm
of,
trying to get at.
you're looking at the bad actors.
Correct.
I think the assumption here is that you've got to be a good actor in order to go through this process.
I agree.
And I think that's what I think we all want that, right?
Yeah, as long as, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, there's nothing in here, let's say you're a bad actor, we'll just use a worst-case scenario. You're a bad actor right now, which is not gonna allow you to come in under this ordinance.
Right.
I'm not talking about the businesses that we all know are, we'll just use Mom's, for instance. 'Cause we'll just use hers, because it's a single trailer on a property, doing what she's doing, whatever. If it's not a person like that, isn't going to be able to come in if they have a code violation to come in and even ask for this. They create a code violation, whether it's a structure that shouldn't be there, it's a whatever. Now they come in for a hardship. I'm just struggling with this. There's a lot of vague language in here for me, and I support it. If the staff feels that there's a hardship and they can prove it for whatever it is, it's great. But it's the ones that if the staff feels are not providing enough of a hardship, that are gonna come before us. Now, we're basically superseding staff, which we do, but if it's, I'm not articulating what I'm trying to say, but if the staff doesn't deem, based on what we are required to do to stay in compliance with flood regulations, and it comes before us, what is it are we saying to people that it's okay to just go past staff if the staff doesn't feel that you followed?
I think the finding would be that their particular situation is not a hardship that would merit an extension of any permit that has been issued.
Okay, so then, if that's the case, then the 23rd would be the end of that, and they would then be out of compliance for a temporary
Correct.
permit? If it's an active permit that they have now?
Yes.
Yes, and that is stated, right at the end of section 1. In the event an extension of an ETP, oh wait, is denied, that's not it, hold on. There's an or that I capitalized.
What document are you looking on, Nancy?
The proposed resolution.
Proposed resolution, okay.
I believe it's the top of page 3, Nancy.
Yeah. Any
Yes,
structure
there it
or
is.
use
Any
identified.
structure, yes, or use identified in an ETPP which is non-compliant as required by the town flood regulations, or if the ETPP is not extended, shall be referred to code enforcement. Thank you, Karen.
I don't think that, I mean, I don't know if that covers it all, though. I mean, okay, let's just use an example. Let's say the Cubano truck, is that Cubano, or the one that sits down at Sandy Bottoms? So, they were not here on the island prior to Ian. But they have been, they're on the Sandy Bottoms property, which is under construction, which was a food service business. Are they allowed to renew? Because they weren't on the island before. But to my knowledge, they've been in total compliance. You know, they're a structure that can be pulled off and all that kind of thing. But
No.
because they weren't here before Ian, are they allowed to renew?
I would say yes. I think I think where this all came to a head was when the condo down here one of his buddies had a pizza wagon. All of a sudden, you got a condo with a pizza truck. I mean, that's what we're trying to eliminate, but I think if you had a restaurant, and, you know, in all fairness, I mean, they change it up. They, you know, they have,
They do change it up.
which
I
is
was
good,
just
which I
using
think,
Cabanos
which
as
I
an
think is
example.
good. I mean, you've got Cubano, then you've got the Rude Shrimp, and you've got.
But Rude Shrimp was here before.
Okay, but,
That's
but
what I'm
he had,
saying.
he had,
It's like,
he had barbecue, I mean, they've got different
I
varieties.
know, but I'm just saying, as we go forward, I mean, here, now's the perfect time to say what is going to go forward or what isn't. And the intent was, at the very beginning, the intent was to help the businesses that were on the island at the time of the hurricane. So
Yeah.
Cubanos is one of those. I don't believe they have any code enforcement things, issues against them. They've been on and off, they can pull on and off, they can do all of that. Can they continue under what we have stated here? Can they continue? Or is the intent, if they weren't on the island before, because these are the questions I get all the time. If they weren't on the island beforehand, you know, should they be taking away from business that is trying to put in their brick and mortar, or who are trying to do their business and still build?
Well, I guess I'll just, to me, I don't think that my intent was, whether it was, we'll just use, in your situation, you've got Rude Shrimp there and you've got Cabanos or whatever it's called.
Mhm.
That was a restaurant before, that was.
Rude
that-
Shrimp, well,
Well, no, I meant the
No,
location.
the
Sandy
location
Bottom's
was,
location
right,
was
right.
it was a use that was there before.
right,
It's not like they're putting up a machine shop there now, right? But I think what I'm trying to say is if using your scenario, just driving by it today, the intent was to not have 2 food trucks on that property. And there's 2 of them there now. They may not both be open at the same time, but I think that's the part of this that I'm having the issue with, is whether or not there's a food truck there, I think that was the intent. But how many were there is, and again, I'm not using them as the example. You brought up the example, I'm just saying,
I'm
there's
just trying
2
to throw
different.
one
yeah,
out
there's
there
just-
that's, you know, everybody knows.
But the intent was to help. It wasn't there to be longevity. It wasn't there to be the solution. Now, in that example, they're going through the permit process. They're trying to reopen their business. They're showing that they're trying to go through.
Mhm.
So they are meeting the intent of what I think we were trying to pass back in March of 2023.
Mhm.
It's the ones who aren't. And
So if.
will this,
Yes, so if I may, the analysis really would begin with what was really given to them? What was their initial permit? Was it for 1 or was it for 2? Maybe it was only for 1. That was a condition that was put on the initial permit that was granted. And over time, it's just kind of morphed a little bit. And then that's something that we would have to analyze, you know, what rights do they have? Are we extending only those rights, not expanding them? And if they have expanded them without authority and permission, then that would be a code issue.
well, in an effort to move this along, I support what you have here, Will, and I think it's covered a lot of the stuff. And getting this out there sooner than later, I believe is the intent of the council. I think that's what we want, is to give people as much notice as possible. I don't want to speak for my fellow council members, but for me, the intent is to get a path forward for those who are doing things the right way to be able to continue to operate while they're trying to bring back their brick and mortar building, or they go through whatever process they have to go through under our current ordinances to use a special event or special permit or do whatever they have to do. So I support this, and I feel comfortable after this conversation knowing that if you are in violation of floodplain management right now, that you're not going to get extended past the 23rd, and the code violations will continue on if you currently have a code violation. But I think we have to let the public know that there are violations for people who are doing things, but they can, as we have seen, it can be dragged out for quite a long time through the magistrate process and appeal process to be able to bring them back into compliance. So I'm glad we're hitting this head on. But as long as we're not gonna, to be clear, this is not going to allow it to begin again. Does that make sense? It's not gonna allow people to come in and get a temporary use permit to move forward. We're not issuing those anymore. But there's a path you can go through correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, there is a path to do certain things with current ordinances that are in place, should you want to do something, whether it's a special event or a short-term use for things, Christmas tree.
Yes,
Like
yes,
Christmas
that
tree
is,
lot type
that
of
is
thing.
in effect
But there's
already.
nothing that you know of or that I am aware of that provides you a long-term year, 2-year, 3-year permit
Correct.
to operate
The
a
only
business.
way you could do that, and this is a issue I wanted to discuss with Judith Frankel, is if you did have some kind of change in specific zoning categories, maybe under a special exception. Well, maybe you can have this particular use with all these conditions associated with it because it's not detrimental to the neighborhood or, you know, to other policies in the town.
I'm just trying to help get answers to some of the public comment questions that were out there.
Mhm.
It was my belief, the intent wasn't necessarily to say, if you were, we'll just use the Sea Gypsy, for instance. Sorry, Scott, but you
That's
were a
fine.
retail shop before.
Right.
It's a hardware store, which is still retail, right? That was the intent of what we were trying to
Right,
do.
and it's a guy
And it's
that's,
like, well, and he does,
trying-
but he doesn't own the, I was trying to get to what one of the
Yeah.
comments was in public.
sure,
They don't own the land, but it's an allowable use through a lease of the landowner for
Right.
what was there before retail. I'm just talking retail to retail. That, I think, is what the intent of all this
right,
was for.
carry it
And
further,
he's-
he's across the street and he's got plans in and he wants to
Exactly.
rebuild. So
Exactly.
it's, you know, a local guy, and this, I think this situation is gonna come up, Dan, and, Mr. Malone brought it up, that there's gonna be some other properties that, and I think we're gonna try to put it under that other code, but there is gonna be, and as we grow, let's, let me use an example as, Eddie Yaha's place right here.
Mhm.
He's rebuilding, he's gonna have tenants. I would think that some of those tenants, whomever they are, would probably like to engage their business beforehand, but they're gonna need another location just to get their name out there, recognition. If they provide a lease, hey, we're gonna open in Eddie's place, you know, 2027 or whenever he's done, we'd like to get started. So I think even though that's a new business, they're going to be a brick and mortar.
But I see what you're saying, and I understand that concept, but that's not what this does.
Right, this is separate.
would be
Not this resolution
Yeah,
today.
not this resolution, but I
But
think we
down the
need,
road, if we wanted to look at.
yeah,
the-
down the road, we need to address that. So again, this is all about certainty, that, you know, we're trying to eliminate the uncertainty in the market. And when we have a path forward with this, and we have a path forward for new businesses, I think it eliminates that uncertainty that we've talked about, and it just,
No, I see what you're saying, and I totally get that part of it. Moving forward, if you've got a big tract of land that's 2 acres, and you want to operate whatever business is going to be there temporarily while you're building something, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
With the caveat, though, where I'm going to come from is,
it's gotta be.
there's got to be severe penalties if you go outside of what you were approved for.
Yeah,
'Cause this is,
I
the
totally,
reason we're having to do this now is
totally agree.
because so many people have done that.
Right. So let's get to the two things that she also brought up is what is the time frame here? Do we want to go, obviously, I don't think we should put the deadline like we have it now in September during hurricane season. I think we should do it up until June 1st, whether it be 26 or 27, and then we reevaluate for the following hurricane season. But we want to get these businesses, again, with the path forward with certainty during season and without the effects of potential storms. So I would think we should look at either June 1, 26 or June 1, 27. And I kind of lean toward 27, so we're not taking staff. We have to go through this process again in 6, 7, 8 months, which sounds like a long way down the road, but it's not a lot of time.
So I don't disagree with you. What about the renewal process of having to come in to renew that? Originally, it was 6 months. I think every 6 months you had to come in for renewal. I'm not opposed to what you're suggesting as far as longevity of when those permits expire.
Right.
But the
I
renewal
don't-
process, to me, should be
We
shorter.
should ask town staff if it was a burden. I mean, is it?
What I don't want to do is give a blank statement and say, in June 1st of 2027, if you meet this hardship today, in 2025, you now get 2 years to operate
Well,
without doing anything.
Exactly.
We don't want, okay, so I agree. So maybe we do it June 1, 26. fee schedule, I'm thinking maybe $100, it's nominal, but to cover our costs. Frankie, you'd probably know better, $100 residential, 200 commercial, I mean, or $100 per trailer, so if it's a commercial, they have extra you know, so that's, I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
I guess I have a concern that we're gonna charge folks for a hardship that is beyond their control, like Elevate Florida. I mean, we've seen, there's no movement on that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And now we wanna charge them $100.
Well,
That's
there is
nominal, I'm
movement.
not
They're
saying
getting
charge them
rejection
1,000.
letters.
They already did, yeah.
I think there has to be some sort of, again, you know, we're talking about our budget, everything else, I mean, I think it should be a nominal fee, John. I'm not disagreeing that if it is a you know, but everything's a hardship.
It's gotta
Well,
cover our
Not
expenses.
everything's a hardship, but.
It's gotta cover our expenses,
Yeah, we're not gonna make money on it, but it certainly has to cover our expenses.
I think any business that's able to operate for the next 9, 10 months, or 8, 9 months in season is okay with $100, $200.
Well, trying to figure out the best way to package this up based on what everybody's been saying, but I support extending those permits that have been issued, not issuing new permits to those who are good actors. We can say whatever you're talking about 2 years, I'm fine with 2027 if that's the case, but I would want to see shorter intervals of being able to come in for review, just so that if your hardship today is, I just am waiting for, my permit is in, but it's going through the
Yeah.
environmental process.
Yeah, I agree.
If you still have a
if
problem,
If you have the
you're
same
in.
napkin you drew your plan on, and you know, you come back a year and a half later, hey, man, here's my plans, come on.
Yes,
Well-
Mr. Mayor, if I can too.
Yes.
The resolution date being extended to maybe the 26 or 27 is fine, but I would still want to have the 6-month reapplication process. That keeps us in compliance with FEMA's special flood hazard area
Okay.
regulations.
So how
6-month
about we go-
6-month review, 6-month renewal.
Right.
6-month review, and the amendment goes till June 1 of '27.
I'd be fine with that.
I would want to go even a little bit further, just to prevent.
June 1 of '28?
No, what I'm talking about, no.
No.
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about, Nancy, is there any way we get someone that we give an extension to, and then they decide they want to become bad actors for whatever reason, I'm not saying that would happen. What recourse do we have then to say you no longer, do we have to wait that 6 months then to say your permit is no longer valid because you have you've decided to, I don't know, build a pergola in the middle of your property?
Or could it be revoked upon a,
It can be. Our code already has a process.
already
If they
do that.
receive an NOV, and Tom, you can come on up if you want to add to this. If you receive
Yeah,
an
I'd like-
NOV,
so- just so people
there
out
is
there
a
listening would
process in
understand.
place of a timeline. They have to respond to that NOV and come
Within
into
30
compliance.
Yeah, okay. So
And-
that's where the no.
And we're also requiring them to have a plan for how they're going to resolve the hardship,
Yes.
which could have those 6-month increments in there. And then we can look at their plan and they think that by January, they're going to have this much done. You know, did they achieve that or not?
Should we put benchmarks or something in?
We can. It's
Tom,
reasonable.
come on up.
Good morning, everyone. Thomas Yazzo, Emergency Services Director, Fort Myers Beach. So we would do an NOV if they come out of compliance in whatever manner, and we also have the ability through the building department to revoke any permits. So even if they had their extension and the NOV is created, and it comes to a magistrate situation where they don't come into compliance, we can revoke that permit. Just to be clear on that.
Hey, I don't expect that, I mean, we're nearing kind of the end of the emergency use. I mean, every month we're seeing less and less, right? People are starting to submit plans and build buildings, and so I don't think this is gonna be a huge issue, but we do know that there are going to be some that probably push the boundaries of whatever we pass here today.
Correct.
But what assurances do we have that, once this process is in motion, it can take months or years to correct violations? And it's just unfortunately the way that the process has to go. It's state process, so.
It can, and if it ends up in an appellate type situation where they're going to appeal on something that a magistrate has found, just remember, those fines are still growing.
Right.
And those fines are there, and for the most part, even if they win in their appeal, that's gonna still be up to the appellate judge to decide whether those fines stand or not. So those fines can be pretty substantial, and I think that's kind of a tool for us to try to push people to compliance rather, because the fine at the end is not in the benefit of anyone, let's be very honest. The town's not here to make money. The town's not here
And that's
to
not
be-
what I'm getting at,
yeah,
Tom.
yeah.
That's not what I was trying to get at. It's not about fines, it's not about that. What it's about is those trying to move forward, which is what the initial intent was, to allow people to operate, whether you were here or not, as long as it was a use that was on that property. The intent was to allow you to operate while you move forward.
Yes, sir.
It's the ones that are choosing not to move forward for whatever reason. If it's a hardship, it's a hardship. If it's not, it's not. We've had people come before us and say, I didn't take the building down because I don't want to. Well, that's not a hardship, but, we couldn't do much about it until we could. So those are the types of issues that I'm concerned with. And it sounds to me, as long as, I'm fine with all of this, as long as they're gonna have to be in compliant with floodplain, they're gonna have to show the plan, that you got your evacuation plan, you meet all the other things, not just simply what is being laid out in 9 bullet points for hardship, right? So you would still have to, I'm just trying to paint the picture for anyone out there that's listening, that's gonna be able to come in by the 23rd and apply for an extension, that it's not going to be just showing a hardship. It's going to be that you're in compliant with floodplain management regulations, as well as whatever it is you've deemed, or that has been put out there as far as licensed trailer has to be licensed on the road, has to, be compliant with all these things. You have to have an evacuation plan. I don't see any of that in this draft resolution, and that's
No,
where my
but we're
concern
adding
is.
it, because on page 2, after the list of 9, we
down
have
there.
two items are listed, but we're adding a third that says, and an evacuation plan,
Okay.
FEMA compliant and road rent.
So that'll be added in there.
Yes.
Just trying to make it easier for everyone.
Yes, sir. So I would add,
To
if I could,
understand.
please, that with the evacuation plan, I would stress to people that they need to follow the plan. And if they don't, there could be repercussions to that. Last year, we had 3 hurricanes that swam past us and beat our island up. And we went door to door and knocked on people's doors to say, please get your trailer off the island. Please remove this, please remove that. And many didn't, and then they were getting towed away, a month and a half later as scrap, because they sat here. So it's something that, I think that's something that we need to get to the public and make sure they understand that too. They have to follow their evacuation plan.
Well, not only that, they cause hardship for their neighbors as well.
Yes, they do.
Oh, as we saw people driving their vehicles from other municipalities and leaving their vehicles in the path of the storm.
Yes, they did.
Just to
Yes,
total
because they
them
catch
out.
fire in the
Just
seawater.
parking them in the town right away and leaving them there.
Yeah.
So it's always a mess. Well, I'm hoping that we can this is gonna come very fast on the 23rd.
Yes.
And to me, there's still a lot of vagueness. We gotta move this forward so that people at least have an opportunity to come forward, but the vagueness of, an evacuation plan, what is that? Do I have to show you Billy Bob's F-150 can pull it off and it takes this much time? What does that really entail as far as details? I can just show you, I don't own a truck, I own a Prius that can't pull his trailer, but I'm gonna use that to pull the trailer
My
off.
buddy has a truck.
Yeah, but my buddy, well, yeah.
There's-
Anybody that has a
those-
truck
those are
knows that
good
you're
points.
everybody's
Country
buddy.
song, yeah.
I think we're gonna have a lot of headaches coming over the next month is all I see, and I'm just trying to mitigate as many of them as we can.
Well, and I think the beginning date on this should be as absolutely as soon as we possibly can, to get the right
I think
wording.
that's what Nancy was trying to get.
Yeah, like
Yes,
today.
so we do have to amend our application to only apply to extensions. And we were talking about how can we electronically make it as easy as possible for our residents to apply. There are a couple blanks that we need to have filled in that I need specific direction from you on. So the extension date, I've heard June 1st, 2027. Is that also for residential as well as commercial, or is that only commercial?
I'm okay with residential.
I'm fine with both as long as there's
Okay.
a review process before then.
I am too.
Okay, and then having the town manager to begin processing these, maybe give us a couple days this week to get our application in order, posting it on the website where it could be downloaded.
That
and-
brings up a question to help alleviate staff. Would it make more sense if we're only, let's say, worst-case scenario, we're talking 51 and 158? We know who they are. Would it make more sense for us to reach out to them and say, this is the new resolution, you are one of the 158 properties, versus someone who never got a permit? And I'm just trying to alleviate some staff time, because if somebody's been operating illegally or their permit's been expired, they're not gonna be on this list to be able to apply for an extension, but yet they're gonna still try to apply for an extension, which is gonna take staff time. Do you see what I'm trying to say here? Does it make sense to be more proactive, to reach out to them and say, your permit is going to be expiring, you have the ability to potentially apply for an extension?
I think Dr. Kohler had drafted a letter at one point,
Yeah.
which we could now perhaps mail out with a copy of the resolution.
I do have a draft letter that I worked with Nancy on to send out to some homeowners who have those permits that we have listed. I just want to clarify that we're not saying that you have this permit, I removed my trailer, but now I have the opportunity to extend, so I'm going to bring it back on. So I think that's a clarification we probably need to add to that letter. At least that's what I'm understanding.
I
is
just
the
want to support
direction.
whatever is gonna take the least amount of staff time to have to review all this. I don't want, like we saw after the storm, permits were free for something, so someone would turn in a permit application with their name and phone number on it, and that was it. And then it chewed up staff time for review process and all that, because they were trying to get in under a deadline that was, we didn't have anything in place to say, you have to have a fully filled out packet, not just your name and phone number. So if I'm Billy Bob again, who has a trailer on my property, my permit has expired 6 months ago, I'm not eligible to come in and ask for an extension on an expired permit.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm trying to help the staff not create more work and more paperwork for people that, or if there's a fee associated with it, now they gotta pay a permit fee, or they gotta pay a $100 fee to be told, well, you're not even eligible, now you're refunding people's money, and I'm just trying to, I just see a lot of messes coming, that we're never gonna be able to cover them all. I'm just trying to help figure out ways to alleviate staff time and do what we're trying to do, extend those that need to be extended for valid reasons.
I think that's a great point, and I can add a sentence in that last paragraph that once the unit or the structure has been removed, that the emergency temporary placement permit is expired
Null and void.
and revoked and cannot be renewed. It's finality. If you've moved it,
Yes.
it's gone.
Yeah.
You can't come back. So I can add that, and I guess that to begin processing these, do you want to have a specific date or immediately, or how, I have to defer to our town manager.
As soon
I
as-
don't know how quickly we can get it.
No later than 1 September, I think, to have us start this
September
process.
1st.
And if we're ready earlier than that, great. But we need to, as parts of these discussions today, make some updates to the permit application, the emergency permit applications we've talked about. And then I want to develop and institute a process where people can, where we can announce it on the, do public service announcements, have the application and the process available through our website, like other processes that we have, and the points of contact, and I need to set up the process, the team, to receive these. I don't believe that we're gonna receive, 51 and 158, because not everybody's gonna meet the criteria, but we need some time to get that out there so everybody can see if they do or do not meet the criteria, and they can apply for the exception. So I think September 1st gives me the time to do that.
And what about the fee part? Can we look at what would cover our costs only for processing this and charge that as a fee, or?
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to make money on the fee. It would just be a processing fee, like any of our fees. And I think 100 for residential, maybe 150 or 200 for commercial. I leave that to the council and your discretion. But I do, it's not to make money. We're not, and
Right.
I understand absolutely that if people are extending due to hardship, that is a consideration we should take. But it does require a significant amount of staff time and materials to do this.
Well, along those lines, and I know I've got pushback on this, but I'd still like to see us at least have the town manager have the discretion to waive that. I mean, when I see number 9 down here, hardship due to delay in permitting process, that sounds like it's our problem. So now we're gonna charge somebody for our delay, and that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I did talk about that one with Tracy. It's not, it wouldn't only be delay in permitting due to our process. Many times, there's back and forth on permitting because not the right stuff was
Sure,
presented with
and
the permit
I
application.
don't have a problem with inability to sell property. That's totally on the person, but hardship due to extended death or something like that, if you're talking about a property owner, that could be tied up in litigation or something with estates or things, so that could be.
I have no issue.
I would just like to see the town manager have the ability to waive that if needed.
If the council wants to grant me with that ability, I have no issue with that.
I would like to grant the town manager the ability to waive that as well at his discretion, based on hardship.
Yeah. Do you want to go September 2nd since the 1st is Labor Day?
Yes.
Probably a good idea. You know, one thing I just thought of, because I brought it up and used Sandy Bottoms as an example, there were 2 food services on that property when it's now changed all into one, being Sandy Bottoms, but it was
still one property.
It was one property, but there were 2, so it was Royal Scoop and, I'm totally spacing, Bagels. Tuckaway. Royal Scoop and Tuckaway, so there were 2, but now it's one property. You're right, but still, I just wanted to.
And it wasn't it wasn't for any other reason other than illustration of what the intent was. That was.
Right.
Wasn't saying they're doing anything wrong. It was just simply saying.
Right, they've been in compliance like all the way through, so we're good.
So we got the date figured out?
Yes,
September
I
2nd.
think we've got everything. The town clerk has given me resolution number 251. And so, Mayor, if you wanted to read the title, then we would be
Well,
in a.
can we fill in all the yellow spaces first, so that when
Yes.
we're reading the title, it's all accurate?
Yes. So the first yellow space in the title would basically be to extend remaining ETPs due to expire on September 23rd, 2025 to June 1st of 2026, 27. And then at the very end, beginning no later than September the 2nd. The other items that,
Hold on a second. So, and then section 2 of the next page is where the renewal process would be to cover that. It's not a blanket 2-year extension.
Didn't we say 6 months?
But I just wanted to make sure that's where it's gonna get covered. I'm asking Nancy. if that-
Oh.
I'm sorry, the renewal period, every 6 months checking in, that,
On section 2?
Section 2, yes. Is that where that would be covered?
yes, the burden is on the property owner, documentation of the hardship, a plan for resolving the hardship with 6-month, check-ins, something like that,
Yeah, I would, renewal, whatever.
updates or updates.
Revision. Review?
Yeah,
But does that then trigger another
No.
fee every 6 months for them to?
no,
That's not the intent.
I know
it's
that's not
just,
the intent. I'm just,
it's just checking the box. I mean, they have it.
okay.
So we have that, and then no later than the September 2nd. Also, going back to number 4, adding building professional. And then going back to that paragraph, and the evacuation plan, FEMA compliant and road ready. And then the administrative fee, 100 for residential, 250 for commercial, with the option to request a waiver from,
I thought we said 200.
I'm sorry, 200, from the town manager.
So how many months, back in the resolution paragraph, how many months? We got the date.
We're gonna take out for an additional month and just put in, to extend to June 1st of 2027. So we're not counting the months.
Just so that I'm reading it correctly, so what do you want me to change? Due to expire on September 23rd, for an additional,
No, just, to extend, due to expire to June 1st, 2027.
okay, so instead of September 23rd, it'd be 27. Or June 1st, 2027, right?
Correct.
So we're replacing September 23rd to June 1st.
No. To extend remaining ETPS who are supposed to expire or due to expire on September 23rd to June the 1st of 2027. So from September 23rd, they're going to now be extended to June 1st.
So removing the additional months.
Yes, yes, we're taking off that language.
But what if we're, because that implies that anything expiring on June 23rd, no matter what, or
Not
on
just the
September
ETPs.
23rd is automatically, so that's not what we're getting
No,
at, though.
upon the demonstration of a hardship as provided herein, and then that goes to that section 2, where it has the nuts and bolts of how to get it.
Okay.
So what exact wording, Nancy, after September 23rd, comma? What wording do you want me to put in there?
To June 1st, 2027. And then it would pick up.
Upon the
Upon the
got it, okay.
demonstration, yes.
And then remaining ETTPS beginning September 2nd.
No later than.
Accepting and processing applications for extension of remaining ETDP beginning,
No later than September 2nd, 2025.
Mhm.
hold on, say that again, no later than
September 2nd,
September 2nd. There,
2025.
that's what I thought. Thought I heard you say December.
No, September.
Well, we were talking Christmas trees at one point,
Oh, yeah,
so.
this, we've been talking a lot.
Nancy, may I ask a question?
No.
I asked a question, right? Yeah. In that opening paragraph, do we need to say anything about the 6-month renewal period? Or does it make it, when you read it, oh, I will apply an extension for a hardship and have all the way through
That's what I
June
brought
of
up. I think that's what's covered
20.
under section 2 on
And
page.
Section
Yes,
2.
it's section 2, and it would
Right.
be, where it's number 2, the burden
Mhm.
is on the property owner. 1, documentation of the hardship. 2, for a plan for resolving the hardship with 6-month updates.
Do we need to put that in the beginning paragraph to make that clear, or you think it's okay in section 2?
I think it's okay, because it does say as provided herein, and
Okay.
the section 2 deals with the hardship.
And then at the bottom of page 2, there's 2 empty blank yellow highlighted spaces.
So it would be no later than September 2nd, and begin accepting applications on,
No, the first one would be September 23rd, wouldn't it be? Bringing an extension application, because they have till the 23rd, but they will be, and begin accepting applications on 9/2.
I think you
yes,
can,
so we can edit that.
Right, so no later than September 23rd,
okay.
25, but we can begin accepting
Oh, wait a minute.
9/2/25.
Hold on, the town manager is directed to create in Hurricane Ian ETPP extension application, and let's just get rid of that
I
and
think we just
pick
get
it
rid of the
up.
first date.
And begin accepting
Yep.
applications no later than September
Okay,
2nd.
I agree.
okay. So take out that application no later than the first part, the first one.
Yes,
And begin
yes,
accepting, okay.
Yes.
And that section 4 on the last page, this resolution shall take effect, is that today when we vote on it?
Immediately, yes.
Okay. I'm holding on to this for all kinds of questions.
Oh, I think it's just the start of questions.
Just wait.
So just to make it official, Mayor, if you want to read the title?
Sure.
If he can read his writing.
Oh, I can read it.
And it's Resolution 251.
Got it. This is resolution number 251. It is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, extending the expiration period of emergency temporary placement permits, ETPPs, formerly known as temporary placement permits issued to property owners or tenants who sustained damage to residential damaged homes or businesses following Hurricane Ian as provided and authorized in ordinance 23-05 as amended in ordinance 24-04, authorizing and directing the town manager to extend remaining ETPPSs due to expire on September 23rd, 2025 to June 1st, 2027, upon the demonstration of a hardship as provided herein, directing the town manager to begin accepting and processing applications for an extension of remaining ETPS beginning no later than September 2nd, 2025, providing for payment of an extension fee and providing for an effective date.
But Joe, you
Yep,
got it.
perfect.
I nailed it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Counselor Woodson, seconded by Counselor King. Further discussion? The only discussion item I have is obviously the obvious. We know we're not gonna get our partners, this is for Will and Tracy, if you guys just nod if you, we know that we're not gonna get confirmation from our partners in the federal government on the wording or how this goes. Are we confident it's not going to put us backwards?
I am.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. All right. Got a motion and a second. A motion by Counselor Woodson, seconded by Counselor King. Any further discussion? Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously.
I do have one more question.
Okay.
So we've addressed the extension component. However, there was a lot of policy discussion regarding temporary uses in general. Would you like us to schedule that for a future M&P meeting?
Yes. I
Can,
say yes.
can we do it sooner? Next council meeting, or we have to be in the MMP?
I think you should be an MMP.
That's fine.
Whatever you come up with from a policy perspective to actually change the ordinance would have to go to the LPA and then come to you for 2 more readings. There'll be a lot more discussion about it.
Okay.
But I don't think we have an M&P in September, do we?
So
We do not.
could we, would it make more sense to send this to the LPA for discussion and recommendations to bring? I don't want the council to discuss it, then it goes to the LPA, and it changes, and then it comes back. Does it make sense to have it go through the LPA process first?
We can do that with your direction to me to work with staff to go ahead and draft an ordinance and take it to the LPA based on your conversation today and see what they think of it, and then we'll bring it back to you. That would expedite it.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that it needs to be expedited, but it doesn't make sense to rehash what we just rehashed, to send it there.
Yeah,
to come
6
back.
weeks later, 6
Yeah.
weeks from now.
Okay.
Anyone have an issue with that? John?
No.
I think you have your consent, Nancy?
I've got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
What else you got, Will?
Just 2 more things, council, if I may. I've been discussing with you previously about a new presentation policy for those who are bringing presentations to present to the council. That was tough to get through.
Are you gonna present
Alliteration.
this to us?
But I'm presenting it right now. And Nicole has done a great job in drafting that policy, and we want to institute that policy immediately. And it basically is, in bottom line up front, is anybody who wants to present something will have to send it to town staff and the town clerk ahead of time. What's the time frame, Nicole? no later than 24 hours ahead of any meeting. That gives the town staff time to make sure it's properly formatted and test it with our AV systems before. I just want to inform you that that's going to go into effect, and we will place all of this information on the town's website for people to be aware of.
Finally.
The other thing is that we've scheduled the grand opening for our new town hall, September 10th, from 9 to 11. Is that right, Nicole? From 9 to 11. Nicole has begun sending out invitations to dignitaries, especially those who helped us acquire the funding and the legislative process behind that to get us that new town hall, and others who were significant in that, and we will extend invitations further, but just wanted to let you know we've started that process for September 10th at the new town hall.
At AM or PM?
Both.
Just checking.
It's a good clarification, thank you. That's all I have.
PM's on the deck.
9
I'll
to
be on the
11, you
deck.
said?
Yes,
9
9
to
to
11.
11.
September 10th. All right, town manager or town attorney items.
I do have one item. So at your public meeting on August the 4th, you reaffirmed your direction to the town attorney to pursue foreclosure of some code enforcement liens on property that is located at 80 Avenue E in Fort Myers Beach. That property is owned by White Sand Properties LLC. On Friday, August the 8th, we did file a complaint to foreclose 2 of the code enforcement liens, and it has been assigned a case number 2025-CA-004261 by the Lee County Clerk of Court. So as you know, all of our meetings and conversations among you occurs in the public. However, there is an exception to the public meetings law that allows me to announce and request that we have a closed session concerning settlement negotiations and strategy related to litigation expenses associated with this litigation in a private executive session with the town council. This is authorized in 286.0118. This allows elected municipal officials to meet in private with your attorneys and the town manager, but we will only discuss strategy and settlement negotiations related to this specific litigation. By statute, I also need to announce that my request is that the executive session begin at 12 noon on September the 11th. That would be in the middle of your regular town council meeting, and that it is expected to last no longer than an hour. The executive session will take place at Town Hall, located at 6231 Estero Boulevard, Fort Myers Beach, Florida 33931. Only the following individuals will be present and allowed to participate during the executive session: Mayor Dan Allers, Vice Mayor Jim Adderholt, Council members John King, Karen Woodson, and Scott Safford, Town Manager Will McCanny, Town Attorneys Nancy Stuprich, Becky Vos by Zoom, Chloe Berriman, Paul Waters by Zoom, and a court reporter. The Town Council will not be taking any action during this executive session, but after the executive session has adjourned, we will go back into a public meeting, and at that point, if there's any action to be taken, it would occur at that time. And that's my announcement.
Madam Town Attorney,
Mm-hmm.
procedurally, do you have, or do you feel you have the authority to enter into, or maybe you're in the process of in settlement negotiations prior to the 11th? In other words, if you come up with a settlement proposal prior to the 11th, it could be discussed at executive session and then properly voted on afterwards. I only ask that because we're obviously entering into our budget session on that evening, and if there's an impact of the settlement negotiations that impact the budget, it would be good to know that, and just wanted to make sure you had all the tools you needed to posit some sort of a settlement proposal
I
prior
would
to
not
that.
be, I would not be offering the property owner a settlement proposal. However, I will offer them the opportunity to provide an offer to us which then could be discussed in your executive session, and subsequent to that, you could provide direction to make a counteroffer.
Very good.
That's it.
Do you need a vote or anything on that?
No,
Just the announcement?
just the
Okay.
announcement.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Council member items and reports. Senator Scott? Councilman Safford?
Wow, I got promoted. I actually have 3 questions. Number one, where are we sitting with on the CRAs? Are we gonna have is that gonna be part of our MMP process? I mean, where do we sit right now?
Sir, we have a meeting, myself and a couple members of staff are meeting with the Lee County representative for CRAs this afternoon. We're gonna discuss that and what we need to do as a town to potentially work through that process with the county. So after that meeting, I'll have a little bit more information for you on our recommended way ahead. But I hope to move as quickly as possible on this.
Okay, fantastic. My second is there an update on the grant funding for Bay Oaks? I know there's an August 31st deadline. Is that,
Jeff, you want to talk about the discussions with county on that? Thanks.
Jeff Hoagie, Community Services Director. Man, that sounds weird up there. Anyway, so the original grant packet that we received said August 31st, 2025. After contacting, the representative that we have through the grant, I asked for an extension just in case we weren't done. And the person that was reviewing it was somebody new. And said your date should have been 60 days from when the grant expires, which is December 31st. So the original date should have been October 31st all along. They had it wrong on the contract, so they are sending me a new one, but I just got clarification again this morning that it's October 31st, 2025. So we are trying to get it done end of August anyway, because that was kind of our target, but if we have to go a little farther, then that's okay. If we run into these snags, we have a little breathing room for sure, so. Yep.
okay, that's great.
October 31st is the new deadline.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That third, the charter review, we have a exact date, time, place for our first meeting?
The town clerk.
We do, we've set it for, I've opened my calendar up. It's October 7th at 2 PM, and it'll be at the new town hall.
Fantastic, thank you. That's
I'm
all I
sorry,
have.
What time was that again?
2 PM.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
All right. Counselor Woodson?
I'm good, thank you.
Counselor King?
Just a couple of things. Town manager and I will be meeting this week with FDOT to try and see what we can do to accomplish getting 2 lanes on in the morning and 2 lanes on in the afternoon at the Matanzas Bridge. And if you will indulge me, I would like to see if we could move the December M&P meeting from December 4th to December 3rd, as with the new responsibilities with the Florida League of Cities Board of Directors, I would be needed to attend a meeting out of town.
So can you repeat that?
Move the M&P from December 4th to December 3rd.
That Thursday to a Wednesday.
Correct.
I'm actually fine with that.
I have no issues.
Fine by me.
Thank you. That's all I have.
But now that you said that, I, I either need an excused absence for the October 8th M&P. I unfortunately will be out of town, so I don't know if it can go to any other date, because it looks like the 7th is pretty booked, unless we made it the 15th.
Yeah, it originally got moved from the 9th to the 8th because of the TDC's
Right.
schedule conflict.
So I don't know if there's any opportunity to either October 1st or October 15th.
I'm gonna be out of town October 1st.
Okay.
October 15th works.
October 15th?
It's fine with, the 15th is fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Does that work? Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for bringing that up, because I totally forgot to ask that.
All right. Anything else, John?
Nope.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, just wanted to have a little clarification. I see Jason Green is in the audience, and maybe our attorney, town attorney, would want to opine. I thought there was from one of our former colleagues, a post over the weekend implying that Senate Bill 180 would negate our ability to utilize our impact fees. I think that was a questionable statement, and I just thought it would be helpful to get some clarification. And I didn't know if Jason or Nancy wanted to opine on that, because I
I'll
think
let
that
Jason handle
causes a
it.
lot of concern in the community, and I don't think it's a very good take if you.
Yeah, we had an extended conversation, Jason and I
Yes.
did yesterday, and he's got all the details, so I'm going to defer to him.
I'll be, hopefully, by the time I get home today, deliver the draft to your administration and to Nancy, and for them to review, and obviously she can opine on that once she reviews it. You currently have impact fees. You're allowed under state law to continue to do those. You're just required to have updated studies, which is what we're doing. So that's why we're on track to hopefully have you adopt it October and November. That way we can continue to collect the impact fees based on that study if that's what you adopt. You also have the opportunity to change those numbers based on your input and feedback. But to that point, I think the main question about that is, my understanding, as long as we're not introducing any new categories of which to collect, and it looks like most across the board, the impact fee rates that are being charged are going to be reduced at least slightly in most cases. So, well, staff can review that study and give you some more feedback on that, but there's no increase as far as right now.
So Jason, in this person opined in reference to Senate Bill 180, they said, now the ship has probably sailed, eliminating funds needed for infrastructure and resilience upgrades and putting more of a burden on the taxpayers, referring to Fort Myers Beach. That is an incorrect statement as it relates to Senate Bill 180 for Fort Myers Beach?
My understanding with impact fees is you are, under state law, required to update them every 4 or 5 years, and this will kick that next period off, and so we have to do this study.
Right, but Senate Bill 180 will not adversely impact Fort Myers Beach with respect to impact fees.
As far as I'm aware, in the current, way the study has come out, no. Obviously, we'll allow Nancy and your team to look at it and confirm that, but my understanding on the impact fee side is no.
Thank you.
And I will be corrected if needed.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
All right. I had the same question about the impact fees, but you already answered it. But since you're there, Joe had made a statement at one of the last meetings, and I think that maybe got misconstrued a little bit as far as the amount of money that can be used for a project. It's not a static number, is it? It's not just specific, and this is nothing against Joe. We were throwing a lot of numbers at Joe, and I just want to clarify.
Sure.
I think Joe said only 25% of the impact fees could be used for any project, but that's not necessarily how it works, correct?
So it depends on how you do it, and generally, yes, there's a percentage or a cap generally associated with impact fees to a project, because it's very difficult to have a project and associate it 100% with new growth, right? So the impact fees are all supposed to be for capacity that you need to achieve level of service for new growth and new people. I just, as an estimate, it's about 20% is a number that's in the impact fees using that, because of our growth rate is unique. So every community is going to be different, and every methodology you use for that impact fee will be slightly different from town to town. So just throwing that number out, it's about 20% for your projects is what new growth is associated with.
Well, it was my understanding with the impact fees, and I think it kind of correlates with what you were just talking about, is a new project comes into town.
Right.
And the impact fees, a percentage can be used based on what that impact's gonna be, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's ball fields, whatever it is.
Right.
A percentage of that impact fee can be used for that project, but the rest then would be shouldered by the taxpayers.
Well, other sources, right?
Or other
Sometimes you can use your impact fees as leverage for grants and other things of that nature, because you're budgeting it and you're collecting it, and it's adopted by ordinance, so you can rely on it. Some people have bonded those types of things. I mean, there's options for you, but yes, ultimately, the impact fee can only pay for a portion of most projects, correct?
Okay.
Uh, And actually, that just as the opportunity to say, when you do your budget, actually by code, we're supposed to be doing a 5-year CIP every June to the LPA. And then you're supposed to take that as part of your budget every September. And then that cycle, that 5-year, 5th-year cycle works with the updates every 4 or 5 years of the impact fee. They're supposed to work together on that cycle.
All right. Clear as mud, Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of clear as mud, Jason, there was sort of a general thought that we've got to get this study done in order to capture some of these new developments. And we realized that obviously they've not filed their building permits yet, so they will be captured. But there was a sort of a general belief that what you were doing would capture and create impact fees that otherwise didn't exist. That's not the case. You're in
Correct.
essence updating what we already had on the books with respect to impact fees. Is that a fair characterization?
That's the way it's come out, yes. When you do a study, you have an opportunity to look at other revenues, other I guess, categories to collect impact fees for. This doesn't do that. The way it came out, and based on your direction and the feedback we got, ultimately what we had works. And there's slight modifications to like the Parks and Rec one, consolidated some things, made it more clear what that could be used for. But it's essentially very similar to what you have, just a little bit different rate, and that rate's based on what the growth has been doing and projected to do.
Great, thank you.
Yep. So there's no new surprises that'll come out of this.
All right, thanks, Jason. I don't have anything else. There's nothing else for the good of the order?
So I see you wanting a motion, and I will move for adjournment.
All right, motion by Counselor King. We are, any objections?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Counselor Safford.
Senator.
There, get it right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, hearing none. We are adjourned at 11:47.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Yeah.